Deku was never quirkless. At 4 years old, Izuku Midoriya made the sky turn black and summoned lightning that could vaporize buildings. They call him the Omega Storm, a force of nature with godlike power who doesn't fuck around, doesn't hesitate, and doesn't lose. Watch him absolutely demolish everyone in his path.
Welcome, Legends, to Chronos Recom. I wrote this story myself, so if you have any suggestions or what-ifs you want to see, drop it in the comments below. Also, just wanted to let you know I've got a Patreon set up now for anyone who wants to support the channel directly. You can get early access to stories, submit direct fan requests, and get exclusive content. It's totally optional, but if you want to help keep these stories coming, check it out. Links in the description. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that bell so you never miss an upload. Let's dive into this story.
The sky above Musutafu turned black at exactly 2:47 p.m., not the gentle gray of an approaching rainstorm, not the moody purple of a summer thunderhead. Black. The kind of black that made people look up from their phones, made drivers pull over, made mothers grab their children and run inside. And in the center of that impossible darkness, floating 50 feet above the UA entrance exam grounds, Izuku Midoriya opened his eyes. They glowed pure white. "Let's make this interesting," he whispered. The first lightning bolt hit 3 seconds later. But let's rewind. Let's go back to where it all started. Because this isn't your typical My Hero Academia story. This isn't about some quirkless kid who cried his way into heroism. This isn't about inheriting power from the greatest hero alive. This is about a boy who was born with the power of a god and learned to wield it like a scalpel. 4 years old. That's when it happened. Little Izuku Midoriya sat in the quirk doctor's office, swinging his legs from the examination chair while his mother Inko clutched her purse nervously. The doctor, an elderly man named Ujiko who specialized in quirk analysis, stared at the x-rays with an expression that kept shifting between fascination and absolute terror. "Mrs. Midoriya," the doctor said slowly, "your son's quirk factor is unprecedented." Inko leaned forward. "Is that good? What's his quirk?" The doctor pulled up a holographic display. Izuku's skeletal structure rotated in the air, but it wasn't the bones that caught attention. It was the glow. His entire nervous system was lit up like a Christmas tree, pulsing with energy that shouldn't exist in a human body. "I'm calling it Omega Storm," the doctor said. "Your son has the ability to manipulate weather at a fundamental level. Atmospheric pressure, electromagnetic fields, temperature, precipitation, wind currents. If it happens in the sky, he can control it." "That sounds wonderful." Inko clasped her hands together. "Mrs. Midoriya," the doctor's voice went grave, "you don't understand. Most quirks are additions to human physiology. Extra bones, modified organs, enhanced capabilities. Your son's quirk is integration. His body has fundamentally altered itself to become a living weather system. Do you know what that means?" Before Inko could answer, young Izuku sneezed. The lights exploded. Not flickered. Exploded. Every bulb in the office shattered simultaneously as a pulse of electromagnetic energy rippled outward from the boy. The computer screens went dark. The holographic display died. Somewhere in the distance, a transformer blew with a sound like a gunshot, and outside, it started to rain. Not a drizzle. A deluge. 0 to flash flood in 10 seconds flat. Izuku looked up at his mother with those 2 bright green eyes and said, "Sorry, Mama. I didn't mean to." The doctor backed away from the chair. "He's an Omega-level quirk user. Mrs. Midoriya, your son is one of the most powerful individuals I've ever documented, and he's 4. Inko drove home through a thunderstorm that meteorologists would later describe as impossible given current atmospheric conditions. She white-knuckled the steering wheel while her son sat in the back seat, humming cheerfully while lightning danced between his fingers. That night, she made a decision. If her son was powerful, truly catastrophically powerful, then he needed to learn control. Not suppression, not fear. Control. She spent the family savings on it. Meteorologists, physics professors, support engineers, even a few pro-heroes who specialized in environmental quirks. For the next 10 years, Izuku Midoriya didn't just train his body, he mastered the sky. Fast forward to age 14, Aldera Middle School. The building where, in another timeline, Izuku might have been bullied relentlessly for being quirkless, where Bakugo Katsuki might have tormented him daily. That didn't happen here. Bakugo kept his distance, always had. Ever since the incident when they were 6, they'd been playing heroes and villains in the park. Bakugo, already showing the aggressive personality that would define him, had shoved Izuku hard enough to make him cry. Stupid Deku, you're supposed to be the villain because you're weak. Izuku, tears streaming down his face, had felt something inside him crack. The sky answered his pain. A lightning bolt, later measured at over 100 million volts, struck the ground between them. The blast crater was 10 feet wide. Bakugo's clothes were singed. His hair stood on end. He'd wet himself in terror. Izuku, glowing eyes fading back to green, had whispered, "I'm not weak." Bakugo never touched him again. Oh, he talked shit. Plenty of it, but always from a distance. Always with an escape route. Because Katsuki Bakugo, for all his bravado, wasn't stupid. Now at 14, Izuku walked the halls of Aldera with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what he was. Students parted for him. Teachers gave him wary respect. Girls whispered and giggled when he passed, and he loved every second of it. Midoriya. A hand grabbed his shoulder. Izuku turned to find Bakugo standing there, flanked by his usual cronies. The blonde's jaw was clenched, his red eyes burning with barely suppressed. Was that fear? Anger? Both? "What's up, Kachan?" Izuku's voice was casual, almost bored. "Don't call me that," Bakugo snarled. "And don't think you're hot shit just because you're applying to UA. That's my school. I'm going to be the #1 hero, not some weather freak." Izuku smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Kachan, you've been saying that since we were kids, but here's the thing." He leaned in close, and the air around them dropped 10 degrees. Frost formed on Bakugo's jacket. "You can't be #1 when you're too scared to even stand next to me without flinching." Bakugo's hands sparked. Pop, pop, pop. Tiny explosions of impotent rage. "Careful," Izuku whispered. "You know what happens when you lose your temper around me." The sparks died. Bakugo jerked his hand back like he'd been burned. His cronies shifted nervously. "Ch-ch, whatever. I'll see you at the entrance exam, Deku. Try not to wash out." Bakugo turned and stalked away, his scrambling to keep up. Izuku watched them go, that same dangerous smile playing on his lips. "Can't wait, Kachan. Can't wait." The morning of the UA entrance exam, Izuku woke up to perfect weather, sunny, 72 degrees, light breeze from the southeast. He decided to change that. By the time he finished breakfast and kissed his mother goodbye, storm clouds were gathering over the UA campus. By the time he caught the train, weather advisories were going out across Musutafu. By the time he arrived at the school gates, the sky was the color of a fresh bruise. Perfect. He'd worn his favorite outfit for the occasion. Black jeans, a white t-shirt with a stylized storm cloud design, and a leather jacket that probably violated some kind of dress code. Sunglasses completed the look, even though the sky was dark enough that he didn't need them. Style points, he thought. Always important. The crowd outside UA's gates was massive. Hundreds of hopeful students, all chattering nervously, comparing quirks, psyching themselves up. Izuku walked through them like Moses parting the Red Sea, not because they recognized him, but because something about his presence made people instinctively move aside. "Excuse me." He turned to find a girl with brown hair and pink cheeks jogging up to him. She was cute in that girl next door way, with bright eyes and an earnest smile. "Hi, I'm Uraraka Ochako. Are you here for the hero course exam too?" She stuck out her hand. Izuku shook it, noting the slight calluses on her palms. Manual laborer family, probably. "Izuku Midoriya. Yeah, hero course. You?" "Same. I'm so nervous. Everyone here looks so strong and their quirks are probably amazing and I'm just..." She caught herself rambling and laughed. "Sorry, I tend to talk when I'm anxious. What's your quirk?" "Weather manipulation," Izuku said simply. Uraraka blinked, like, "Making it rain?" "Among other things." Thunder rumbled overhead, right on cue. Uraraka looked up at the darkening sky, then back at Izuku. "Wait, is that you?" "Guilty." Her eyes went wide. "That's so cool. You must have amazing control to... Whoa!" She'd accidentally activated her quirk, making herself start to float. Izuku reached out and grabbed her hand, pulling her back down to earth. Their faces ended up inches apart. "Careful," he said, grinning. "Gravity might not be the only thing you're falling for." Uraraka's face went from pink to crimson. Thank you!" She stumbled backward, released her quirk, and nearly fell over again. Izuku caught her. Again. Maybe you should activate your quirk on me, he suggested. I can fly, so we'd both be stable. You can fly? Wind currents. I'll show you sometime. He winked. Uraraka looked like she might spontaneously combust from blushing. Before she could respond, a loud voice cut through the crowd. Attention examinees, please proceed to the auditorium for your orientation briefing. Yeah! Present Meek. Even his normal speaking voice could shatter glass. The crowd started moving. Izuku fell into step with Uraraka, who kept sneaking glances at him and then looking away when he noticed. Cute, he thought. Really cute. They filed into the massive auditorium, taking seats in the middle section. Izuku removed his sunglasses, hooking them on his collar. Around them, students were still chattering nervously. Welcome to today's live performance. Everybody say hey. Silence. Present looked genuinely hurt by the lack of response, but powered through. That's cool. That's cool. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of how this exam works. Are you ready? More silence. Tough crowd. Anyway, Izuku tuned out the explanation. He'd studied the exam format weeks ago. 10-minute battle trial in a mock city. 4 types of villain robots, worth 1 to 3 points each. A 0-pointer that was worth avoiding. Straightforward, boring. He needed to make this interesting. And remember, there's no fighting between examinees. This is a test of your ability to defeat villains, not each other. Now let's hear it for, excuse me. A tall boy with glasses and dark blue hair stood up, his hand raised. Izuku recognized the aggressive posture of someone about to be that guy in class. You on the promotional materials listed 4 types of villains, but you've only explained 3. If this is an error in the UA curriculum, it's unacceptable. We are exemplary students. We expect exemplary standards. Great catch, examinee 71111. Present Mike pulled up a holographic display showing a massive robot that dwarfed the others. This is the 0-pointer. It's an obstacle, not a target. There's 1 in every testing area, and it's worth 0 points. My recommendation, run away. The glasses kid sat down, looking satisfied. Izuku snorted. Sounds fun. Uraraka looked at him. Fun? It looks terrifying. Exactly. Before she could ask what he meant, the glasses kid was standing again, this time pointing directly at Izuku. You! With the unruly hair and disrespectful attitude, you've been muttering and disrupting the presentation. This is a prestigious institution and your behavior is going to score higher than yours, Izuku interrupted calmly. Sit down, glasses. You're blocking the screen. The auditorium went silent. The glasses kid's face went red. How dare you? Tenya Ida, right? From the Ida hero family? Izuku leaned back in his seat. I can tell by the engine exhausts in your calves. Speed-type quirk probably inherited from your pro-hero brother Ingenium. You're smart, disciplined, and you follow rules to the letter, which means you'll do well on this exam, but you won't do great. Know why? Ida's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Because heroism isn't about following the rules. It's about saving people. And sometimes that means breaking every rule in the book. Izuku's eyes flickered white for just a second. Now sit down before I make you. Ida sat present meek for once, seemed at a loss for words, then he recovered. Well, that was intense. Anyway, moving on. The students were divided into groups and sent to different battle centers. Izuku noted with amusement that Bakugo was in a different group, probably intentional on UA's part. They'd done their research. Uraraka was in his group, though, which was a pleasant surprise. Good luck, she said as they walked toward Battle Center A. Maybe we'll both get in. You will, Izuku said confidently. You've got a great quirk. Mobility, battlefield control, rescue potential. Any hero agency would be lucky to have you. She blushed again. You really think so? They reached the massive gates of Battle Center A. It was a full mock city, complete with buildings, streets, and the faint hum of machinery that meant the villain robots were already active inside. Around them, other students were stretching, activating their quirks, psyching themselves up. Izuku just stood there, hands in his pockets, looking up at the sky. The storm clouds he'd summoned earlier were directly overhead now. Perfect positioning. An air horn blared. Begin! The other students charged through the gates. Uraraka gave Izuku one last smile and ran after them. Izuku walked. No rush. He had a show to put on. He strolled into the mock city like he owned it, ignoring the sounds of combat echoing from deeper in the test area. Explosions, shouting, the crash of metal on concrete. Everyone else was scrambling for points, amateurs. He found a nice open intersection, stood in the center, and looked up at the sky. Then he raised both hands. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in 5 seconds. The wind picked up, going from calm to gale force in the time it took to breathe. And the sky turned black. Not dark, not cloudy. Black dots. Students throughout the testing area stopped what they were doing and looked up. "What the hell?" someone whispered. In the observation room, Present Mike leaned forward in his chair. Eraserhead? Are you seeing this?" Aizawa Shoda, better known as Eraserhead, the underground hero who would become their homeroom teacher, frowned at the monitors. "What am I looking at?" "Battle Center A. The weather just went insane." They switched to an overhead view. The mock city was disappearing beneath a localized supercell thunderstorm that had formed in seconds. Meteorologically impossible. Physically impossible. Except it was happening. "Who's doing that?" Aizawa demanded. Present Mike checked his roster. Examinee 2154, Midoriya Izuku. Quirk listed as, "Oh, wow, what?" Omega Storm, complete weather manipulation and atmospheric control. And according to the notes, he's been registered as an Omega level quirk user since he was 4. Aizawa stood up. Omega level? At 4. Why wasn't I told about this? Looks like Nedzu wanted to see what he could do. Present Mike grinned. Smart mouse. Back in the battle center, Izuku was just getting started. His eyes blazed pure white. Wind whipped around him in a visible vortex, lifting him 10 feet off the ground. His hair floated upward like he was underwater. The air crackled with static electricity, making every exposed metal surface spark and hum. He looked like a god. "Time to clean house," he murmured. A 3-pointer robot rounded the corner, its sensors locking onto him. It raised its arm, weapon systems charging. Izuku flicked his wrist. Crack! A lightning bolt, thick as a telephone pole, bright as the sun, obliterated the robot. Not damaged it, not disabled it. Vaporized it. 1 second it was there, the next there was just a smoking crater and the smell of ozone. The thunder that followed shook the ground. 84 points to go, Izuku said. He rose higher into the air, wind currents carrying him above the buildings. From this vantage point, he could see the entire battle center. Students scrambling between buildings, fighting 1-pointers and 2-pointers. Conserving energy. Playing it safe. Boring. Izuku spread his arms wide. The storm exploded. Rain came down in sheets, visibility dropping to near zero in seconds. Wind howled through the streets, strong enough to stagger students and send lighter debris flying. And the lightning, boom, a 2-pointer, gone, crack. Another 3-pointer, melted slag, boom, boom, boom. 3 1-pointers in quick succession, each struck with surgical precision. Izuku floated through the chaos like a conductor leading an orchestra, each gesture calling down another bolt of destruction. He wasn't just defeating robots. He was dismantling them. A student with a mutant-type quirk, something reptilian, gaped up at him. Is he even human? Thunder was his only answer. In the observation room, the pro-heroes were losing their minds. He's taken out 43 villain points in 2 minutes. Present Mike's voice had lost its usual enthusiasm, replaced by genuine shock. That's more than most students get in the entire exam. All Might, disguised in his civilian form, leaned close to the screen. That power, where did it come from? He's a natural-born Omega level, Nedzu said, appearing at All Might's elbow. The principal of UA was a small animal of indeterminate species with the intelligence of a supercomputer. One of perhaps a dozen in the entire world. His quirk didn't develop, it manifested fully formed. He's been training for control ever since. Control? All Might watched another lightning strike hit its target. That looks like pretty good control to me. You haven't seen him cut loose yet, Nedzu said ominously. Back in the battle center, Izuku was getting creative. A cluster of robots had grouped together, probably some kind of pack hunting protocol. Smart. Ineffective. Izuku descended until he was hovering just above the street, level with them. 6 robots total, 2 3s, 4 1s, normally worth 12 points. Not worth the effort of 6 separate lightning strikes, so he tried something different. He reached out with his quirk, not to the sky this time, but to the air. Nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, all the components that made up the atmosphere. And he moved them. The oxygen content around the robots dropped to 0 in 2 seconds flat. Their combustion engines sputtered and died. Their electrical systems, dependent on air-cooled components, began to overheat. They ground to a halt, motors seizing. Izuku landed on top of the nearest three-pointer and sat down cross-legged. "Suffocation's a war crime when you use it on people," he said conversationally to the dead robots. "But you're machines, so I think we're good." He restored the oxygen levels. The robots didn't restart. 12 more points. He was up to 55 now. 5 minutes remaining! Present Mike's voice echoed across the battle center. 5 minutes. Izuku had already scored more than enough to pass. Most students would coast now, avoid risks, make sure they didn't get injured before the end. Izuku was not most students. He took off straight up, riding a thermal column of his own creation, until he was 200 feet above the mock city. From here, he could see everything. The scattered students, still hunting one-pointers. The few remaining high-value robots, and at the far end of the battle center, dormant but waiting, the zero-pointer. The massive robot was easily 100 feet tall, built like a fortress on treads. It was designed to be unkillable, a moving obstacle that would send students running. Izuku grinned. "Hey, Present Mike," he said, knowing the hero's quirk meant he was monitoring all sound in the battle center. "I'm going after the zero-pointer, just thought you should know." In the observation room, Present Mike sputtered. "What? But it's worth 0 points. There's no reason to." "I'm not doing it for points," Izuku said, rising higher. "I'm doing it because it's there." The zero-pointer activated, alarms blared across the battle center. Students turned and ran as the massive machine lurched forward, its treads chewing up asphalt, its weapon systems coming online. Izuku flew directly at it. 2 minutes remaining! The zero-pointer's sensors locked onto him. Missile pods opened, targeting lasers painted red dots across his body. "Do your worst," Izuku whispered. The missiles launched. Dozens of them, trailing smoke, targeting systems tracking his every move. Any normal person would have died. Any normal hero would have had trouble. Izuku created a downdraft so powerful it slammed the missiles into the ground before they could reach him. Boom! Boom! Explosions rippling across the street below. He didn't slow down, 50 feet from the zero-pointer. Its main cannon swiveled, charging up for a shot that could take down a building. Izuku raised both hands. The sky opened. Not one lightning bolt, not two, a barrage. Dozens of strikes, all hitting simultaneously, each one channeling 1 billion volts of electricity into the zero-pointer's armor. The robot's system screamed. Circuit breakers blew, armor plating melted, running like wax. The smell of ozone was overwhelming, but it wasn't enough. The zero-pointer was built to take punishment. It kept coming. "Okay," Izuku said. Plan B. He flew above the robot, positioned himself directly over its center of mass, and took a deep breath. Then he pulled. Not with his hands, with his quirk. Every weather-manipulating nerve in his body focused on one task: create a low-pressure system directly above the zero-pointer. The effect was immediate and devastating. The atmospheric pressure differential was so extreme that it created a localized implosion. Air rushed inward from all sides, creating wind speeds that exceeded 200 miles per hour. The zero-pointer, designed to be an unstoppable juggernaut, was lifted off the ground. Students throughout the battle center watched in stunned silence as the massive robot rose into the air, pulled upward by impossible winds, its treads spinning uselessly. 1 minute remaining. Izuku held it there, 50 feet up, the zero-pointer suspended by nothing but air pressure and his will. Then he let go. The robot fell. Crash. The impact created a shockwave that shattered windows throughout the mock city. The zero-pointer hit the ground so hard it created a crater 10 feet deep. Metal shrieked. Armor buckled. Internal systems exploded. And then, just to make sure, Izuku called down one final lightning strike. This one was different. Longer. Sustained. 10 full seconds of continuous electrical discharge, the bolt so bright it forced everyone watching to look away. The temperature at the strike point exceeded 15,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The surface of the sun. When the light faded, the zero-pointer was gone. Not damaged. Not destroyed. Melted into a pool of superheated slag. Exam complete. Present Mike's voice was barely audible over the ringing in everyone's ears. Izuku descended slowly, landing in the center of the crater he'd created. His eyes faded from white back to green. The storm began to dissipate, sunlight breaking through the clouds. Around him, students were emerging from hiding spots, staring at the destruction in absolute shock. Uraraka ran up, her eyes wide. That was you. The whole storm, the lightning, the everything. Guilty, Izuku said, running a hand through his hair. Did you get enough points? She shook her head, trying to process. I got 38, but you melted a building-sized robot. It was in my way. You're insane. I prefer ambitious, he grinned. Come on, let's get out of here before they make us fill out incident reports. They walked toward the exit together, Uraraka still babbling about the storm, the lightning, the zero-pointer. Izuku let her talk, enjoying the genuine enthusiasm in her voice. Behind them, recovery crews were already moving in, trying to figure out how to clean up molten robot parts. In the observation room, silence. Finally, All Might spoke. What is that boy? The future, Nedzu said simply. Or the end of it. Time will tell which. The results came 1 week later. Izuku was eating breakfast when the holographic letter activated, projecting All Might's grinning face into the kitchen. Young Midoriya, I am here to announce your results. Inko nearly dropped her coffee. You scored a total of 87 villain points in 4 minutes and 32 seconds. That's the highest score in UA entrance exam history. But that's not all. The hologram shifted, showing footage of Izuku's storm. You also demonstrated exceptional quirk control, tactical thinking, and the ability to adapt to changing situations. The teachers were unanimous in their decision. All Might's grin somehow got wider. Welcome to UA High School, young Midoriya. This is your hero academia. The hologram fizzed out. Inko burst into tears. Happy ones. Izuku just smiled. About time. The first day of UA started with a text message from an unknown number. Looking forward to meeting you, Midoriya. Your entrance exam was illuminating. YM. YM? Izuku frowned, then shrugged. Probably another student. He'd find out soon enough. He dressed in the UA uniform, black slacks, white shirt, red tie, gray jacket. Looking at himself in the mirror, he had to admit the school had good taste. The uniform actually looked pretty sharp. The train ride to UA was surreal. Other students in uniform filled the cars, all chattering excitedly about their first day. Izuku recognized a few faces from the entrance exam, but nobody approached him. They just stared. He pretended not to notice. UA's campus was massive, a sprawling complex of buildings that looked more like a university than a high school. Izuku followed the signs to Class 1A, his homeroom for the next year. The door was enormous, at least 12 feet tall. Designed to accommodate students with mutant quirks, he guessed. He slid it open. The classroom was already half full. Students looked up as he entered, and he heard the whispers immediately. That's him, the storm guy. He melted the zero-pointer. Is he even human? Izuku found a seat near the window and sat down, pulling out his phone. May as well ignore the staring. Take your feet off that desk! Ah, Glasses Kid was here. Izuku looked up to see Ida standing rigidly next to a desk where a blonde student sat with his feet propped up, glaring daggers at everyone. Bakugo, of course. It's the first day and you're already disrespecting this institution and the upperclassmen who came before us. Ida chopped his hands in that peculiar way of his. Remove your feet immediately. Screw off, extras, Bakugo snarled. Ida looked like he might have a stroke. The door opened again, and Uraraka walked in. Her face lit up when she saw Izuku. Midoriya, you got in, she bounded over. Can I sit here? Go ahead. She took the seat next to him, then noticed Bakugo and Ida arguing. Oh no, are they fighting already? Ignore them. They'll tire themselves out. More students filtered in. Izuku recognized a girl with a frog-like appearance. Asui, he thought her name was. A boy with a tail, someone whose arms were literally tentacles. And then she walked in, tall, elegant, long black hair tied in a ponytail, school uniform somehow looking like haute couture on her frame. She moved with the confidence of old money and excellent breeding. Yaoyoro Zumomo. Their eyes met. Izuku smiled. She blushed and looked away quickly, taking a seat on the other side of the classroom. Uraraka noticed. Do you know her? Not yet. Before Uraraka could ask what that meant, a voice from the doorway made everyone freeze. If you're here to socialize, get out. A man stood in the entrance, wrapped head to toe in a ragged sleeping bag. Only his face was visible, pale skin, dark hair, and eyes that looked like they hadn't seen sleep in a week. This is the hero course. We don't have time for your childish games. He shuffled into the room, sleeping bag and all, and stood behind the teacher's desk. "I'm Aizawa Shota, your homeroom teacher. Put these on and meet me outside." He tossed a stack of gym uniforms onto the desk. "We're having a quirk assessment test." The class erupted in protests. But the entrance ceremony, the guidance counselor meetings, shouldn't we? UA gives its teachers complete autonomy in how we run our classes. Aizawa interrupted, his voice flat. "If you have a problem with that, you can leave now. The school will refund your tuition." Silence. "Good. You have 5 minutes to change. Anyone late gets expelled." He walked out. The class exploded into motion, grabbing uniforms and rushing for the changing rooms. Izuku took his time. Expulsion threats were meaningless when you'd already proven you could solo a zero-pointer. Still, he changed and made it outside in 4 minutes. Show off. The class gathered on one of UA's training fields, a massive open area with measurement equipment set up at regular intervals. Aizawa stood in the center, looking even more exhausted in the daylight. "You all spent middle school sitting in desks learning conventional subjects," he said. "No quirk usage allowed, regulations this, safety that. It's stifling. Here at UA, we're going to see what you can really do." He pulled out his phone, displaying a list. 8 physical tests: grip strength, standing long jump, sustained sideways jumps, 50-meter dash, ball throw, distance run, sit-ups, and seated toe touch. You all did these in middle school without your quirks. Now you're going to do them with quirks. Excited murmurs. Bakugo. Aizawa pointed at the blonde. You scored highest on the entrance exam villain points before Midoriya showed up. Step into the circle and throw this ball as far as you can using your quirk. Bakugo grinned viciously and grabbed the ball. He stepped into the marked throwing circle, wound up, and hurled the ball with an explosion that made everyone's ears ring. Die! The ball arced through the sky, propelled by the blast. Aizawa's phone beeped. 705.2 meters. See? This is what you're capable of when you use your quirks properly. He addressed the class. You have 3 years to become pros. If you want to goof off and have fun, go somewhere else. Whoever places last in today's test gets expelled. The mood shifted instantly. Fear, determination, desperation. Now then. Aizawa's grin was unsettling. Let's begin. Midoriya, you're up for the grip test. Izuku stepped forward and took the grip strength measuring device. It was a simple mechanical instrument. You squeezed and it measured the force. Use your quirk, Aizawa said. Show us what you've got. Izuku looked at the device, then at Aizawa, then at the sky. You sure? Do it. Okay. Izuku held the device in his right hand and concentrated. The air around him rippled as he manipulated atmospheric pressure, creating a compression effect focused entirely on the grip meter. The device screamed, metal groaned, circuits sparked, the digital display flickered through numbers too fast to read, 300 kilograms, 500 keys, 800 keys, 1,000 kilograms. Crack! The device shattered. Izuku held up the broken pieces apologetically. Oops, Aizawa stared. What was your measurement? The display maxed out at 999.9 kilograms before it broke. So more than that? The class was silent. Right. Aizawa made a note on his phone. We'll just put over 1,000 kilograms and move on. Yaoyorozu, you're up for the standing long jump. The tests continued. For the 50-meter dash, a student with an engine quirk in his legs completed it in 3.04 seconds. Impressive. Izuku completed it in 1.8 seconds by creating a wind current that propelled him forward faster than most cars could accelerate. For the long jump, students with mutant quirks managed impressive distances. 30 meters, 40 meters. Izuku used a targeted downdraft to launch himself like a missile. He landed 287 meters away, on the other side of the field. Aizawa had to use a megaphone to call him back. For the ball throw, it was time to really show off. Midoriya, Aizawa called. Your turn. Izuku took the ball and stepped into the circle. The whole class watched, remembering the entrance exam footage that had been circulating online. How far do you think you can throw it? Uraraka asked nervously. Izuku grinned. How far is space? He looked up at the sky, took a breath, and threw. The ball rocketed upward, but halfway through its arc, Izuku activated his quirk. A vertical wind current, a sustained updraft traveling at hurricane speeds, caught the ball and launched it skyward, up, up, up. The class watched until the ball disappeared into the clouds. Aizawa's phone didn't beep. Everyone waited. 30 seconds passed. 1 minute. 2 minutes. Present Mike's voice crackled over Aizawa's radio. Eraserhead, we've lost track of the ball. Satellite tracking shows it reached an altitude of, oh my, it reached low Earth orbit. The class exploded. He threw it into space? That's impossible. How is he real? Aizawa rubbed his temples. Midoriya, we need to talk about proportional responses. You said use my quirk. I didn't say weaponize the atmosphere. Tomato. Bakugo looked like he wanted to murder something. His hands sparked with barely suppressed explosions. Yaoyorozu was staring at Izuku with an expression somewhere between awe and fascination. Uraraka had hearts in her eyes. Literal hearts. The rest of the day followed the same pattern. Izuku didn't just break records, he obliterated them. His quirk gave him such an overwhelming advantage in every physical test that comparing him to the others was pointless. When the results were tallied, Izuku had placed first, obviously. Second place went to Yaoyorozu, whose creation quirk gave her incredible versatility. Third was Todoroki, a quiet boy with heterochromatic eyes who'd used ice powers to dominate several tests. Last place was a short boy with purple balls for hair who'd scored dismally in everything. Mineta, Aizawa said flatly, you're expelled. The boy burst into tears. However, Aizawa grinned that unsettling grin again. The expulsion was a logical ruse to make you give your all. Nobody's getting expelled today. Mineta collapsed in relief. The class headed back to change, chattering excitedly about the tests. Izuku was pulling off his gym shirt when a voice made him turn. Midoriya? Yaoyorozu stood there, still in her gym uniform, looking uncharacteristically nervous. Your quirk, it's extraordinary. I was wondering if... She paused, gathering courage. Would you be willing to discuss its applications? Perhaps over tea? Izuku smiled. I'd love to, but fair warning, my quirk talks to get pretty technical. I can handle technical. Her confidence was returning. I'm Yaoyorozu Momo. Izuku Midoriya, but you already knew that. Everyone knows that. You're all anyone's been talking about since the entrance exam. Fame is so exhausting, Izuku said with mock wariness. How about tomorrow after class? There's a cafe near campus. Tomorrow works. She smiled, and it transformed her whole face. I look forward to it. She walked away, and Izuku watched her go. Dude. A boy with red spiky hair clapped him on the shoulder. Did Yaoyorozu just ask you out? I think it was more of a study date. Still counts. I'm Kirishima, by the way. That thing you did with the ball was manly. Izuku laughed. Thanks, man. Your hardening quirk looked pretty solid, too. Heh, solid. I see what you did there. They finished changing and headed back to the classroom. The energy was different now. Less fear, more camaraderie. They'd survived the first day. As Izuku walked through the halls, he felt eyes on him. Students from other classes, whispering and pointing. Already the rumors were spreading. The first year who could create storms, the kid who threw a ball into orbit, the Omega-level hero in training. He'd wanted to be noticed. Mission accomplished. That night, Izuku got a text from an unknown number. Impressive performance today. You're everything they said you'd be. Let's see if you can keep it up. TS. TS? Izuku frowned. First YM, now TS. People really needed to stop with the cryptic messages. He shrugged and went to bed. Tomorrow was another day at UA, and things were about to get interesting. The second day of UA started with the entire school buzzing about Class 1A's quirk assessment. Apparently, someone had leaked the results online, and now Izuku was trending on Japanese Twitter. Omega Storm is the top hashtag in Japan, Uraraka reported, scrolling through her phone during break. There are memes. You've become a meme. Izuku looked at her screen. Someone had photoshopped his face onto Storm from X-Men with the caption, Mom said it's my turn to control the weather. He snorted. At least they're creative. You're taking this really well. Fame is temporary. Power is eternal. He grinned. Plus, the memes are funny. Their conversation was interrupted by the classroom door slamming open. All Might, in his full muscular form, beamed at them. I am here! Coming through the door like a normal person. The class erupted in excitement. The number one hero was their teacher. Welcome, students, to Foundational Hero Studies. All Might struck a pose. Today we'll be conducting battle trials. He pressed a button and sections of the wall slid open to reveal numbered cases. These contain your hero costumes, designed based on the specifications you sent in before school started. Get changed and meet me at Training Ground Beta. Let's go! Students scrambled for their cases. Izuku found his number 15 and headed for the changing rooms. Opening the case revealed exactly what he'd requested. The costume was primarily black, a full-body tactical suit made from advanced moisture-wicking material that could withstand extreme temperatures. Silver lightning bolt patterns ran down the arms and legs. The boots had built-in air jets for enhanced flight. Most importantly, the suit had embedded atmospheric sensors that would help him monitor weather conditions in real time. The piece de resistance was the jacket, black leather with a storm cloud embroidered on the back, and a hood that could deploy a heads-up display showing wind speed, barometric pressure, and humidity. Izuku put it on and checked himself in the mirror. He looked dangerous. Perfect. The class assembled at Training Ground Beta, everyone showing off their costumes. Uraraka had a skin-tight suit to prevent nausea from her quirk. Ida had armor with massive engines. Bakugo looked like he was dressed for war, all grenade-shaped gauntlets and aggressive design. And then there was Yaoyorozu. Her costume was minimal. A high-cut red leotard that left most of her skin exposed with a utility belt. Practical for her quirk, she needed skin contact to create items, but still, she caught Izuku looking and blushed. My quirk requires exposed skin for maximum efficiency. Makes sense, Izuku said, keeping his eyes on her face like a gentleman. Smart design. Thank you. She seemed relieved he hadn't made it weird. All Might called for attention. Heroes. Today, you'll be split into teams of 2 for indoor anti-personnel battle training. He explained the rules. Heroes versus villains. Heroes had to either capture the villains or secure the weapon. Villains had to protect the weapon or capture the heroes. Time limit, 15 minutes. We'll determine teams by lottery. All Might pulled out a box. Completely random and fair. Izuku ended up on Team A with Uraraka. Yay! She bounced excitedly. We're partners. Their opponents were drawn next. Team D, Bakugo and Ida. Oh, this was going to be fun. Bakugo's face when he saw the matchup was priceless. Pure rage mixed with barely concealed fear. I'm gonna crush you, Deku! He screamed, explosions popping from his palms. Izuku just smiled. Looking forward to it, Kachan. They drew lots for the building, a 5-story urban combat simulator. The weapon was placed on the top floor. Bakugo and Ida as the villains got 4 minutes to set up defenses. All Might pulled Izuku aside. Young Midoriya, I know you're powerful, but please remember, these are your classmates. Don't go overboard. Define overboard. No hospitalization. I can work with that. The timer started. Izuku and Uraraka stood at the entrance, watching the building through the windows. So, Uraraka said nervously, what's the plan? You stay here and look pretty. I'll handle this. What? But I want to help. You will. If anything goes wrong, you're my backup. Izuku cracked his knuckles, but trust me, nothing's going wrong. He walked into the building. The interior was a maze of corridors and rooms, perfect for ambushes. Izuku closed his eyes and felt the air around him. Temperature gradients, air currents, the subtle electromagnetic fields generated by living bodies. Ida was on the 3rd floor, moving in a patrol pattern. Bakugo was on the 2nd floor, hiding around a corner. Waiting to ambush, predictable. Izuku walked down the 1st floor corridor, making no effort to be quiet. His boots clacked on the tile floor. In the observation room, All Might and the rest of Class 1A watched on monitors. He's not even being stealthy, Kirishima exclaimed. Does he have a death wish? Someone muttered. Bakugo heard the footsteps. His grin was feral. Finally, a chance to prove he was better than stupid Deku and his stupid weather quirk. He leaped around the corner, arm cocked back for a massive explosion. Izuku casually raised a hand. The oxygen content around Bakugo dropped to 0. The explosion sputtered and died. Bakugo's eyes went wide as his quirk, dependent on nitroglycerin sweat and oxygen to function, completely failed. What? How? Explosions need oxygen, Izuku said calmly. I control the air. Did you really think this through? Bakugo lunged forward, going for a physical attack. Big mistake. Izuku created a localized downdraft, a pillar of air pressure slamming down from above. That drove Bakugo into the floor with the force of a car crash. Crack. The tile floor spider-webbed beneath him. Stay down, Izuku said. You're embarrassing yourself. He restored the oxygen levels and walked past Bakugo's twitching form. In the observation room, silence. Kaminari couldn't form words. Bakugo didn't even touch him. Kirishima breathed, All Might frowned. The boy's control was terrifying. Izuku took the stairs to the 3rd floor where Ida was waiting. Halt, villain! Ida had positioned himself in front of the stairwell leading to the 4th floor where the weapon was. "I won't let you pass." "That's cute." Izuku kept walking. Ida's engines roared. He shot forward with incredible speed, aiming to tackle Izuku and pin him. Izuku didn't dodge. He created a wind barrier, a wall of air moving at 200 miles per hour between them. Ida hit the barrier and bounced off like he'd run into a rubber wall. He tumbled backward, his engines sputtering. "Nice try," Izuku said, walking through his own wind barrier like it wasn't there. "But you're too predictable." He walked past Ida, who scrambled to his feet. "I won't let you." Izuku reached the top floor. The weapon, a fake nuclear warhead, sat in the center of a large room. He placed his hand on it. "Hero team wins." All Might's voice echoed through the building. Total time, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Uraraka, still standing at the entrance, blinked. "Wait, it's over already?" Bakugo lay on the 2nd floor, fists clenched in rage. Tears of frustration leaked from his eyes. Ida sat on the 3rd floor, looking shell-shocked. In the observation room, the class was going insane. He didn't even break a sweat. Bakugo didn't land a single hit. Is Midoriya even human? Yaoyorozu watched the monitors, her analytical mind racing, the way he'd manipulated oxygen content that required precise atmospheric control. The wind barrier calculated perfectly to stop Ida without hurting him. The localized pressure changes. He wasn't just powerful. He was a genius. She needed to know more. When Izuku returned to the observation room, he was met with stunned silence. All Might cleared his throat. "Well, that was decisive, perhaps too decisive. Young Midoriya in a real battle you'd want to. Incapacitates quickly and efficiently while minimizing collateral damage?" Izuku interrupted. "I thought that's what heroes did." "Well, yes, but I didn't hurt anyone. Bakugo will have some bruises. Ida's just winded. The building is intact. Mission accomplished with 0 casualties. Isn't that ideal?" All Might couldn't argue with that logic. The battle trials continued with other teams, but nobody could top Izuku's performance. It became the standard everyone else was measured against, and they all fell short. After class, as students filed out, Yaoyorozu caught up with Izuku. "That was incredible," she said. "The way you manipulated the atmospheric composition to neutralize Bakugo's quirk, I've never seen anything like it." "Thanks. You would have done the same with your creation quirk. Make something that absorbs oxygen, right?" Her eyes lit up. "Exactly. I was thinking potassium superoxide would work, but the reaction might be too violent for..." She stopped. "Sorry, I'm rambling about chemistry." "Don't apologize. I love chemistry," Izuku grinned. "Atmospheric chemistry is kind of my whole thing." "Right. Of course." She smiled. "Are we still on for tea tomorrow?" "Wouldn't miss it." They walked together toward the lockers, discussing the applications of weather manipulation and molecular creation. Other students watched them go, whispering. Uraraka watched too, a pang of something uncomfortable twisting in her chest. Bakugo watched from the shadows, fists clenched, eyes burning with humiliation and rage. And far above, in the principal's office, Nedzu watched it all on monitors, his paws steepled. "Interesting," he murmured. "Very interesting indeed." The next day brought the infamous announcement. "Class 1A," Aizawa said flatly, "we're going on a field trip." The class perked up. "To the USJ, the Unforeseen Simulation Joint. It's a training facility designed for disaster rescue scenarios. We'll be going tomorrow, so get a good night's sleep." Excitement rippled through the room. A field trip on the 3rd day of school. What they didn't know was that in a shadowy bar across the city, a hand covered in disembodied fingers wrapped around a glass. UA students, Shigaraki Tomoki scratched his neck absently. "Going to the USJ tomorrow. This is perfect, Kurogiri. We strike then." The misty figure behind the bar nodded. "I'll inform Nomu to prepare." "Good." Shigaraki's grin was hidden behind the hand on his face. "Let's see how these heroes in training handle real villains, especially that Midoriya kid. I want to see if he's as strong as the footage suggests." Master's intel indicates he's an Omega-level quirk user. Even better, breaking him will send the perfect message. The next morning, Class 1A boarded a bus to the USJ. Aizawa sat in front, looking half asleep. The students chattered excitedly. Izuku sat next to the window, earbuds in, listening to music. Across the aisle, Yaoyorozu kept glancing at him, then quickly looking away when he noticed. Uraraka sat behind him, trying to work up the courage to talk to him. Bakugo sulked in the back, glaring daggers at everyone. "Midoriya." Asui, who insisted everyone call her Tsu, turned around in her seat. Your quirk is really powerful, Ribbit, but isn't it dangerous to use indoors? It can be, Izuku admitted. That's why I've spent years developing precision control. I can create a thunderstorm that covers a city or a breeze that'll dry your hair. It's all about scale and focus. That's amazing, Ribbit. The bus pulled up to the USJ, a massive domed structure that looked like a stadium. The class disembarked, gathering at the entrance. Waiting for them was a pro hero in a spacesuit. Hello, everyone. I'm the space hero 13. The hero's voice was cheerful and welcoming. Welcome to the USJ. Today will be... The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red. And in the center of the plaza, a portal opened. Dark mist swirled, and figures began emerging. Dozens of them. People in dark clothing, moving with predatory intent. Villains. Aizawa's eyes went wide. 13. Get the students out of here. They've got some kind of warp quirk user. I'll hold them off. Sensei, there's too many. Kirishima shouted. Go. Aizawa dove forward, his capture weapon flying out to engage the villains. The students ran for the entrance. The mist, Kurogiri, materialized in front of them. I'm afraid I can't let you leave. His voice was eerily polite. We've come for All Might, but you'll make excellent hostages. His mist expanded, swallowing the students. Izuku felt the disorienting sensation of being warped, space twisting around him, his inner ear screaming in protest. He landed in water. No, not just water. The flood zone. He treaded water, looking around. Tsuyu and Mineta were with him, both looking terrified, and surrounding them in the water were at least 20 villains, their quirks ranging from aquatic mutations to water manipulation. One of them, a shark-toothed woman, grinned. Look what we got! Some baby heroes! This is gonna be... Izuku's eyes turned white. The temperature dropped. Get behind me, he told Tsuyu and Mineta calmly. What are you? Tsuyu started. The villains lunged. Izuku raised both hands. Crack! Lightning struck the water. Electricity travels through water with devastating efficiency. Every villain in the pool convulsed as millions of volts coursed through them. Their screams were cut short as muscles seized, hearts stopped, nervous systems fried. It was over in 3 seconds. 20 villains floated unconscious, or dead. Izuku didn't particularly care in the water. Tsuyu stared. All of them. They attacked students, Izuku said simply. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. He created a wind current that carried all 3 of them out of the water, depositing them on dry land. We need to get to the plaza, Izuku said. That's where Aizawa-sensei is, and he's going to need backup. But there are villains everywhere, Mineta whined. Not for long. Izuku flew up, taking a bird's-eye view of the USJ. He could see students scattered across different zones. Bakugo and Kirishima in the ruins zone, Todoroki in the landslide zone, others spread out. And in the central plaza, Aizawa was fighting. The teacher moved like a dancer, his capture weapon binding villains, his erasure quirk shutting down their powers. But there were too many. He was getting swarmed. Izuku's eyes narrowed. Time to end this. He rose higher until he was level with the USJ's dome. Then he reached out with his quirk, feeling the atmospheric conditions inside the building. And he changed them. The air pressure dropped, temperature plummeted. Humidity spiked to 100%. A storm formed inside the USJ. Thunder boomed, shaking the entire structure. Lightning illuminated the interior like a strobe light. Wind howled through the different zones, powerful enough to lift villains off their feet. In the ruins zone, Bakugo looked up in shock as rain started pouring from nowhere. What the... In the landslide zone, Todoroki watched ice form on surfaces that shouldn't be cold enough. This isn't my ice. In the plaza, Aizawa stood in the eye of the storm, watching as villains were blown away like leaves. And descending from above, surrounded by swirling winds and crackling electricity, came Izuku. He looked like a god of war. Get away from my teacher, he said. Shigaraki, standing near Kurogiri, laughed. Oh, this is him. The Omega Storm Kid. Excellent. He turned to the massive figure beside him, a creature that shouldn't exist. Black skin, exposed brain, a body built for destruction. Nomu. Kill him. The Nomu moved. It crossed 50 feet in a blink, its fist driving toward Izuku's face with enough force to pulverize concrete. Izuku caught it with one hand. The shockwave from the stopped punch cratered the ground beneath them, but Izuku didn't move an inch. Shock absorption quirk, Izuku observed calmly. Regeneration 2, based on the way your muscles are structured. Strength enhancement, obviously. What else? Super speed? The Nomu roared and swung its other fist. Izuku ducked, twisted, and slammed a lightning-charged palm into the Nomu's chest. Boom! The creature flew backward, crashing into a wall hard enough to crack it. It stood up immediately, wounds healing, and charged again. Interesting, Izuku muttered. He created a vacuum around the Nomu's head. 0 oxygen, 0 air pressure. The creature stumbled, clawing at its throat, but it didn't fall, didn't pass out. The regeneration kept it alive even without oxygen. Okay, you're tougher than you look. The Nomu lunged again. Izuku met it head-on. What followed was less a fight and more a demolition. Izuku moved like lightning because he was lightning, channeling electrical current through his nervous system to enhance his speed. He was everywhere at once, landing blows that would shatter steel, each one accompanied by a thunderclap. The Nomu regenerated from everything. Lost an arm? Grew it back. Chest caved in? Healed in seconds. But Izuku wasn't trying to kill it, he was gathering data. Regeneration has a limit, he observed, dodging a haymaker. You're slowing down. Shock absorption only works on kinetic force, not thermal. His eyes blazed brighter. The air around the Nomu ignited. Not fire, pure heat. Izuku superheated the atmosphere to 3,000 degrees in a localized sphere around the creature. The Nomu's skin began to cook. Regeneration kicked in, but the heat was constant. The creature was stuck in a loop, burning and healing, burning and healing. And now for the finale. Izuku called down one final lightning strike, but this one was different. Longer. Sustained. A column of electricity that struck the Nomu and held, channeling billions of volts into the creature for 10 full seconds. The temperature exceeded 15,000 degrees, the surface of the sun. When the light faded, the Nomu was a smoking, melted husk. Shigaraki stared. That's impossible. Nomu was designed to kill all might. How did a kid, Kurogiri, Izuku interrupted, his white eyes turning toward the mist villain. Warp quirk, right? You can probably escape. Take your boss and leave. Now. We're not, Shigaraki started. Now. The killing intent in Izuku's voice was palpable. The storm around them intensified, lightning striking closer, wind howling louder. Kurogiri grabbed Shigaraki. We need to retreat. This wasn't part of the plan. But now, Tamura. The portal opened, swallowing them both. Izuku watched them go, then let the storm dissipate. The winds died, the lightning stopped, the temperature returned to normal, and he collapsed. Using that much power in such a short time had drained him. His vision swam, his legs gave out, strong arms caught him. I've got you, kid. All Might. The number one hero had arrived, too late to save the day, but just in time to catch the student who'd saved everyone else. Young Midoriya, what did you do? Izuku managed a weak grin. My job. Where were you? All Might looked at the smoking crater where the Nomu had been, at the unconscious villains scattered throughout the USJ, at the awed and terrified faces of the other students. I was coming as fast as I could, but you didn't need me. Guess not. Izuku's eyes finally faded back to green and he passed out. He woke up in Recovery Girl's office, the elderly healer standing over him with a disapproving frown. Quirk exhaustion, she said sternly. You pushed yourself too far. Did everyone make it out okay? Thanks to you, yes. Aizawa has some broken bones, but he'll heal. The other students are shaken but unharmed. You eliminated the majority of the villains single-handedly. Izuku sat up, wincing. His whole body ached. How long was I out? 4 hours. The police have been waiting to interview you. The media is going insane, and Principal Nedzu wants to see you. Sounds like a fun afternoon. Recovery Girl smacked him with her cane. This isn't a joke. You could have died. That Nomu was designed to kill All Might. But it didn't kill me. I killed Ait. Izuku swung his legs off the bed, and now the League of Villains knows that attacking UA students is a bad idea. You're too reckless. I prefer proactive. The door opened, and Yaoyorozu rushed in, followed by several other students. Midoriya, you're awake. She stopped just short of hugging him, realizing they weren't quite at that level yet. We were so worried. I'm fine. Takes more than one overgrown science experiment to take me down. Uraraka was crying. Happy tears. You saved us. You saved everyone. Just doing what any hero would do. Any hero couldn't do what you did, Todoroki said quietly. He stood in the doorway, his mismatched eyes intense. That power, it's on a different level. The students crowded around, asking questions, expressing gratitude, treating him like the hero he was training to become. Only Bakugo was absent. Later, Izuku would learn that Bakugo had punched a wall so hard he'd broken 3 fingers. The blonde was being treated in a different room, refusing to see anyone. For now, though, Izuku basked in the attention. This was what he'd wanted, recognition. Proof that he was the best. That night, the news was dominated by one story. First-year UA student defeats entire villain attack single-handedly. Footage from security cameras showed Izuku's fight with the Nomu. The lightning. The heat. The power. The internet went insane. Omega Storm trended worldwide. Hero agencies from across Japan sent him internship offers. Izuku's phone blew up with messages. And in a dark room somewhere, a figure watched the footage with interest. "So this is UA's new prodigy," a cultured voice murmured. "The Omega-level Storm. How fascinating. I wonder how he'll fare against a real threat." The screen showed Izuku's face, frozen mid-fight, eyes glowing white. "I think it's time we arranged a meeting. Don't you agree?" A voice in the shadows responded, but the words were indistinct. The figure smiled. Soon, then. Very soon. The week after the USJ incident was chaos. Classes were suspended while police investigated. Students were interviewed. Security was increased to paranoid levels. Izuku spent most of it giving statements, answering questions, and politely declining media interview requests. His classmates treated him differently now. Before, they'd been intimidated by his power. Now, they looked at him with something closer to LOVE. He'd fought a villain designed to kill All Might, and won. That changed the dynamic. When classes finally resumed, Aizawa addressed them with his arms in casts. "The USJ attack was a wake-up call," he said grimly. "Villains are becoming bolder. You're all targets now, simply by being UA students. We're implementing new security measures, and your training is going to intensify." He paused. "That said, the sports festival is still happening in 2 weeks." The class perked up. The sports festival is UA's biggest event. It's broadcasted nationwide. Pro heroes scout for sidekicks and interns. It's your chance to make a name for yourselves in the hero world. He looked directly at Izuku. "Some of you already have, but the rest of you need to step up." Dismissed. After class, Yaoyorozu finally cornered Izuku. "We never had that tea," she said. Things got a little busy. "I noticed, fighting bioweapons, saving the school, becoming a national celebrity, quite a week." Izuku laughed. "When you put it that way, yeah. So, rain check?" "Actually," she bit her lip, "would you help me train for the sports festival?" "Train? You're already strong." "Not compared to you. I watched you fight that Nomu Midoriya. You were tactical. Every move had a purpose. You analyzed its weaknesses and exploited them. That's what I need to learn." Izuku considered. "I'm not really a teacher, please. I'll do whatever it takes. I want to be the best, and learning from you is the fastest way to improve." There was determination in her eyes, desperation even. "All right," Izuku agreed, "but you have to promise me something. Anything. Don't hold back. I've seen you in training. You second-guess yourself, worry about making mistakes. That hesitation will get you killed. If we're doing this, you need to trust your instincts." Yaoyorozu nodded firmly. "I can do that. Good. Meet me at Training Ground Gamma after school. Bring your A game." She smiled. "Thank you, Midoriya. I won't let you down." As she walked away, Uraraka appeared at Izuku's elbow. Are you training with Yaoyorozu?" "Yeah. She asked for help with the sports festival." "Oh." Uraraka's face fell. That's great. She's really strong, so you two will probably..." She trailed off. Izuku noticed the look on her face. "Uraraka, you okay?" "I'm fine. Totally fine. I should go train too. Good luck with Yaoyorozu." She fled. Izuku watched her go, confused. Girls were complicated. Training with Yaoyorozu was enlightening. Her quirk creation let her produce any non-living object from her body as long as she understood its molecular structure. Theoretically, insanely powerful. In practice, she was holding back. Again, Izuku called. They were in Training Ground Gamma, a maze of industrial pipes and platforms. Izuku had asked her to create increasingly complex items while under pressure. Yaoyorozu concentrated and a simple steel rod materialized from her arm. "Not good enough. You need to go faster. In a real fight, hesitation means death." "I'm trying. The molecular composition requires..." "Stop thinking and start doing." Izuku sent a gust of wind at her, forcing her to dodge. She stumbled, the rod clattering from her hands. "You're overthinking. Your brain understands the chemistry. Trust it." "It's not that simple." "It is." Izuku landed in front of her. "You know what your problem is?" You're scared. Scared of making mistakes, scared of not being perfect, scared of not living up to expectations. Yaoyorozu's eyes widened. But perfect is the enemy of good. You don't need to create a masterpiece every time. You need to create something useful, and you need to do it now. He stepped back. So let's try again. This time, don't think about molecular structures or atomic bonds. Just feel it. What do you need? Create it. Yaoyorozu took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and reached inside herself. A sword materialized in her hand. Not a perfect blade, but functional. Sharp. Deadly. And she'd made it in 3 seconds. There, Izuku grinned. That's what I'm talking about. Again. They trained for 2 hours. By the end, Yaoyorozu was creating items at triple her normal speed, and the hesitation in her movements had decreased significantly. She collapsed on a bench, exhausted but exhilarated. That was incredible, she panted. How did you know I needed to hear that? Because I used to be the same way, Izuku admitted, sitting beside her. When my quirk first manifested, I was terrified of it. Too much power, too easy to hurt people. I spent years overthinking every use of my quirk, trying to be perfect. What changed? I realized that fear was just another form of hesitation, and hesitation kills. He looked at the sky. Heroes don't have the luxury of perfection. We have to act, even when we're not sure, especially when we're not sure. Yaoyorozu looked at him with newfound respect. You're wise beyond your years, Midoriya. I'm really not. I just had good teachers. He stood, offering his hand. Come on, let's grab something to eat. You've earned it. She took his hand, and he pulled her to her feet. Their faces ended up close, too close. For a moment, neither moved. Then Yaoyorozu stepped back, blushing. Food sounds good. There's a ramen place near campus. Lead the way. They walked together through the UA grounds as the sun set, talking about quirk theory, hero work, and their dreams for the future. Neither noticed Uraraka watching from a distance, tears streaming down her face. The sports festival arrived with the fanfare of a national holiday. UA's stadium was packed. Thousands of spectators, dozens of pro heroes, media crews from across Japan. The energy was electric. Class 1A gathered in the waiting room, all dressed in their gym uniforms. Todoroki approached Izuku. Midoriya. A word. They stepped into the hallway. I'm going to beat you, Todoroki said flatly. Izuku raised an eyebrow. Okay? I don't care if you're an Omega-level quirk user. I don't care that you defeated that Nomu. I'm going to prove that I'm stronger than you. Any particular reason for the declaration of war, or are you just feeling dramatic today? Todoroki's expression was ice cold. My father is Endeavor, the number 2 hero. He made me, arranged a quirk marriage to create the perfect hero. I have his fire and my mother's ice. I'm his masterpiece. Understanding dawned on Izuku's face. But you only use ice, never fire. I refuse to use his power. I'll become the number 1 hero using only my mother's quirk. And I'll do it by defeating you in front of everyone. Izuku was quiet for a moment, then he smiled. Todoroki, I don't give a shit about your daddy issues. You want to handicap yourself out of spite? Go ahead. But don't expect me to hold back because you've got family drama. Todoroki's eyes narrowed. And for the record, Izuku's eyes flickered white. You're not going to beat me. Nobody in this school is. I'm not here to compete. I'm here to dominate. He walked past Todoroki, leaving the ice user standing there, fists clenched. The opening ceremony was massive. All the Hero Corps students stood on the field while Present Mike hyped up the crowd. Midnight, the R-rated hero, was the chief referee, looking far too pleased with herself in her revealing costume. And now, Midnight purred, the student pledge, representing the first years from Class 1A, the top scorer of the entrance exam, Midoriya Izuku. The crowd erupted. Izuku walked to the podium, every camera in the stadium tracking him. He looked out at the sea of faces, thousands of people, watching, waiting. He smiled. I'm not good at speeches, he said into the microphone, so I'll keep this short. To my fellow students, good luck. You're going to need it. He stepped down to roars of approval from the crowd and glares from his classmates. That's the spirit, Present Mike shouted. Confident, bold, possibly insane. Let's get this festival started. The first event was announced, an obstacle race. 4 kilometers around the stadium through various obstacles designed to test mobility, quirk usage, and tactical thinking. The starting gate held all the first-year students, hundreds of them, all jockeying for position. Izuku stood near the back, unbothered. Begin, The students surged forward, shoving and pushing, trying to get through the narrow corridor first. Izuku just waited. Then he flew straight up over everyone's heads, riding wind currents like an elevator. The crowd went wild. Midoriya takes to the sky. Present Mike's commentary was nearly drowned out by the cheering. Is that even allowed? There are no rules against flight, Midnight purred. Izuku soared over the first obstacle, a pit filled with robotic enemies, and landed at the next checkpoint while everyone else was still fighting through the crowd. The race was over before it started. He crossed the finish line with a time that shattered records, sitting down to wait for everyone else. Second place went to Todoroki, who'd frozen the ground behind him to prevent others from following. Third was Bakugo, who'd exploded his way through obstacles with raw fury. Yaoyorozu came in seventh. Respectable. Uraraka was 15th. She looked disappointed but determined. The top 42 students advanced to the next round. A cavalry battle. Teams of 4, one rider holding a headband with points based on their placement in the race. Steal headbands, protect your own. 15 minutes. Izuku, as the first place finisher, had 10 million points on his headband. Everyone immediately formed teams with one goal: take down Midoriya. Izuku muttered, "This is going to be interesting." He needed a team. Looking around, he spotted Uraraka standing alone, looking lost. "Uraraka!" She jumped. "Midoriya? Want to team up?" Her face lit up. "Really? But everyone's going to be targeting you." "Exactly. So I need people I can trust. You in?" "Yes." They recruited Tokoyami, a student with a shadow quirk, and Tsuyu for her mobility. The 15-minute timer started. Immediately, every other team charged at Izuku's group. Izuku grinned. "Hold on tight." He created a wind barrier around his entire team, a sphere of air moving at hurricane speeds. Especially anyone who got close was blown away. Teams crashed into the barrier and bounced off like pinballs. "This is insane," Uraraka shouted over the wind. "This is strategy," Izuku countered. For 10 minutes they were untouchable. No team could penetrate the wind barrier. Then Todoroki made his move. He created a massive ice wave that flash froze the entire arena, locking teams in place. Except Izuku's team. Izuku melted the ice around them with superheated air and flew higher out of Todoroki's range. "You can't hide up there forever," Todoroki shouted. "Who's hiding?" Izuku dive-bombed Todoroki's team, using precision wind strikes to yank headbands off their heads mid-flight, snatched 3 before Todoroki could react. "Time's up," Midnight announced. Izuku landed, his team intact, their points doubled. The crowd was on their feet. "That was incredible," Present Mike screamed. "Midoriya's team wins with a commanding lead." The final event? One-on-one tournament battles. The matchups were randomized. Izuku drew Hitoshi Shinso, a general studies student with a brainwashing quirk. The fight lasted 10 seconds. Shinso tried to goad Izuku into talking, which would activate his quirk. Izuku just smiled and summoned a lightning bolt that struck the ground at Shinso's feet. The general studies student surrendered immediately. "That was fast." Present Mike sounded almost disappointed. Izuku's path through the tournament was a slaughter. Round 2. Some guy with a hardening quirk. Izuku used wind pressure to pop his eardrums, ending the fight via forfeit. Round 3. A girl with a vine quirk. Izuku froze the moisture in the air around her, encasing her plants in ice. Semifinals. Bakugo. The entire stadium went silent. This was the match everyone wanted to see. Childhood friends. Complicated history, explosive rivalry. They stood across from each other in the arena. Bakugo's hands sparked. His face was a mask of concentrated fury. "I'm going to destroy you, Deku." "You're welcome to try, Kachan." "Begin!" Midnight dropped her hand. Bakugo exploded forward, moving faster than he ever had in training. Izuku didn't move. Bakugo's fist, wreathed in explosions, drove toward Izuku's face. Izuku tilted his head. The punch missed by an inch. Too slow. He grabbed Bakugo's wrist, channeled electricity through his grip, and slammed the blonde into the ground. Crack! Bakugo gasped, electricity coursing through him, muscles seizing. "You've been terrified of me since we were 6, Izuku said quietly, so only Bakugo could hear. "That fear made you angry. The anger made you sloppy. You never had a chance." He released Bakugo and stepped back. Bakugo tried to stand, legs shaking, hands sparking uselessly. He collapsed. "Bakugo is out of bounds," Midnight called. "Midoriya advances to the finals." The crowd's cheers were deafening. Bakugo lay on the ground, fists clenched, tears streaming down his face. Izuku didn't look back as he walked away. The other semifinal was Todoroki versus Yaoyorozu. It was a hard-fought battle. Yaoyorozu had improved significantly, using the tactics Izuku taught her, but Todoroki's ice was overwhelming. He won. Barely. Which meant the finals were set. Izuku Midoriya versus Shoto Todoroki. The Storm versus the Ice. Omega Level versus Endeavor's Masterpiece. As they took their positions on opposite sides of the arena, the tension was palpable. In the stands, Endeavor leaned forward, his flames burning brighter. All Might watched with concern. Nedzu smiled. Begin! Todoroki immediately created a glacier, a wall of ice 50 feet tall, rushing toward Izuku. Izuku raised a hand. The ice melted before it reached him, evaporating into steam as he superheated the air. Is that all? Izuku called. Todoroki gritted his teeth and created more ice. Pillars, spikes, waves, an entire frozen landscape erupting across the arena. Izuku flew above it all, untouched. You're handicapping yourself, Izuku shouted. Use your fire! Never! Then you've already lost! Izuku called down lightning. Boom, boom. Each strike shattered Todoroki's ice, sending fragments flying. Todoroki was getting slower. The ice was taking its toll, frost forming on his right side. Shoto! Endeavor's voice echoed from the stands. Use your fire! Show them our power! Todoroki's face twisted with rage and pain. Izuku landed in front of him. Listen to me, Todoroki. That ice, that fire, they're not your father's power. They're yours. And if you keep rejecting half of yourself because of him, you'll never be whole. You don't understand. I understand that you're letting him control you, even now. Break free, Todoroki. Use all your power. Not for him, for you. Something in Todoroki's eyes changed. Flames ignited on his left side. The entire stadium gasped. Todoroki stood there, ice and fire swirling around him, and for the first time in years, he felt complete. Thank you, Midoriya, he said. Then he attacked. Fire and ice working in harmony. The temperature fluctuations were insane. Flash freezing followed by superheating, creating shockwaves and pressure differentials that rattled the stadium. Izuku met him head-on. Storm versus elements. Lightning versus fire. Wind versus ice. The clash was apocalyptic. The arena cracked. The air itself seemed to scream. Every spectator felt the raw power rolling off both combatants. This wasn't a school tournament anymore. This was a battle between titans. But ultimately, there could only be one winner. Izuku channeled everything he had into one final attack. Every lesson, every training session, every ounce of power in his Omega level quirk. The sky above the stadium turned black, and then lightning fell. Not one bolt, not 10, 100. Simultaneously, the entire arena lit up like daylight, electricity cascading down in a display of power that made every pro hero in attendance stand. When the light faded, Todoroki was on his knees, his ice shattered, his flames extinguished. Izuku stood above him, eyes still glowing white, not a scratch on him. Todoroki is down. Midnight's voice was shaky. The winner is Midoriya Izuku. The crowd exploded. Izuku's eyes faded back to green. He offered Todoroki his hand. That was a good fight. Todoroki took it, letting Izuku pull him to his feet. You're incredible. So are you. Now that you're using both sides. They walked off the field together to thunderous applause. All Might approached Izuku in the waiting room. Young Midoriya, I've never seen anything like it. Thanks, All Might. That means a lot coming from you. Where did you get that power? Izuku met his eyes. I was born with it, spent my whole life learning to control it. Why? All Might hesitated, then shook his head. No reason. Just be careful, my boy. Power like yours attracts attention, not all of it good. I can handle it. I hope so. The medal ceremony was anticlimactic after everything else. First place, Izuku Midoriya. Second, Shoto Todoroki. Third, Katsuki Bakugo, who'd refused to stand on the podium and had to be restrained. All Might presented the medals, though he looked troubled. As Izuku stood on the podium, gold medal around his neck, looking out at the sea of faces, he felt a surge of satisfaction. He'd done it. Proven himself, shown the world what he could do. But as the cameras flashed and the crowd cheered, he didn't notice the figure in the shadows of the stadium. Watching, analyzing, planning. The figure smiled. Yes, they whispered. You'll do nicely. And then they were gone. The days after the sports festival were insane. Izuku's face was everywhere. News coverage, social media, billboards advertising UA. He'd become the face of the next generation of heroes. Hero agencies flooded UA with internship offers, literally hundreds. Izuku's desk was buried under them. He picked one that interested him most, the Storm Agency. a relatively new agency run by a pro hero named Tempest, who specialized in weather-based rescue operations. Made sense. But before he could start his internship, something happened. A letter arrived. Not a normal letter. This one was hand-delivered by a figure in a dark cloak who appeared and disappeared before anyone could stop them. Izuku opened it. Inside was a single card, black with silver lettering. Your power is impressive, but it's wasted at UA. Join us and we'll show you what you're truly capable of. Or don't, and watch as we demonstrate it ourselves. The choice is yours. The League of Villains. Izuku stared at the card, then he incinerated it with a lightning bolt. Not interested. But deep down, he knew. This wasn't over. The League of Villains had noticed him, and they wouldn't stop until they got what they wanted. The storm was coming, and Izuku Midoriya stood at its center. The card from the League of Villains turned to ash in his palm, electrical current incinerating the paper before it could even fall to the ground. Izuku watched the blackened fragments scatter in the wind, a wind he controlled naturally, and felt something cold settle in his chest. They were watching him. Of course they were. He'd made himself impossible to ignore. Problem, Midoriya? Izuku turned to find Yaoyorozu standing in the doorway of his dorm room, concern etched across her features. She'd gotten into the habit of checking on him ever since the sports festival, and he'd gotten into the habit of letting her. Just fan mail, he said, dusting off his hands. The aggressive kind. She crossed the room, her school uniform somehow making her look both professional and elegant. The League? How'd you guess? Because you're the only first-year student who melted a building-sized robot and won the sports festival without breaking a sweat. She sat on his desk chair, crossing her legs. You're a target now. We all are, but you especially. I can handle it. I know you can. That's not what worries me. Her dark eyes met his. What worries me is that you want them to come after you. Izuku was quiet for a moment, then he smiled, that dangerous smile that had become his trademark. Maybe I do. They started this at the USJ. I'd like to finish it. Midoriya, Izuku, we've been training together for weeks. You can use my first name. She blushed, just slightly. Izuku, then, please don't do anything reckless. When have I ever been reckless? You threw a ball into orbit. That was calculated. You fought an entire villain organization alone. And won. You're impossible. But she was smiling. Before Izuku could respond, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Hosu City, tomorrow. Internship with Tempest Agency begins. Don't be late. Tempest, the storm hero. Izuku had chosen the agency specifically because the hero's quirk, atmospheric manipulation, though nowhere near Izuku's level, meant they could actually teach him something about precision control. Internship? Yaoyorozu asked, reading over his shoulder. Hosu City. You? Uwabami's agency. It's not my first choice, but the exposure will be good for my family's image. She sounded less than thrilled. Fashion shoots and commercial filming? Exactly. She sighed. I'd rather be doing real hero work, but father insists. Izuku stood, moving to stand in front of her. Then quit. What? Quit. Come to Hosu with me. Tell Uwabami you're interning with Tempest instead. I'm sure they'd take you. Your creation quirk would be perfect for disaster relief. I can't just... My father would. Your father isn't the one training to be a hero. You are. Izuku's eyes flickered white for just a second. Stop letting other people make decisions for you, Momo. It's your life. The use of her first name made her breath catch. She stood, bringing them face to face. You're right. I'll call Uwabami tonight. And my father. Good. Izuku grinned. Besides, I could use a partner in Hosu. Something tells me it's going to be interesting. He had no idea how right he was. Hosu City was burning. Not metaphorically. Actually burning. Izuku stood on a rooftop overlooking the downtown district, watching pillars of smoke rise into the evening sky. Screams echoed through the streets below. The chaos had started 20 minutes ago, multiple villain attacks across the city, coordinated and brutal. And at the center of it all, Nomu. 3 of them this time, not just one. Each as massive and horrifying as the creature Izuku had melted at the USJ, their exposed brains pulsing as they rampaged through the streets. This is bad, Tempest said, landing beside him. The hero was in full costume, a sleek blue and white bodysuit with cloud patterns, goggles that monitored atmospheric conditions. The entire hero network is stretched thin. These attacks are happening simultaneously across 6 different districts. It's a distraction, Izuku said calmly. The League wants heroes scattered. They're planning something. Probably. Tempest pulled up a holographic display from his wrist communicator. Natives responding to the warehouse district. Manuel's got the shopping center. That leaves us with... An explosion rocked the building beneath them. Izuku's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Come alone. Alley behind Sakura Street. If you want to save your friend. HK? Then it clicked. Hero killer. Stain. I have to go, Izuku said. What? Where? Someone's in trouble. I'll be back. Before Tempest could protest, Izuku was gone, riding wind currents that carried him across the cityscape like a missile. The alley behind Sakura Street was dark, narrow, and reeked of blood. Izuku landed silently, his eyes adjusting to the darkness. At the far end of the alley, illuminated by a flickering streetlight, he saw them. Ida Tenya on the ground, bleeding from a shoulder wound. Native, the pro hero, paralyzed and propped against a wall, and standing over them both, wrapped in bandages and blades, the hero killer Stain. You came, Stain said, his voice a rasp. Good. I was hoping you would. Izuku's eyes flickered white. The temperature in the alley dropped 10 degrees. Let them go. No. Stain pointed one of his blades at Izuku. Not until we talk. We have nothing to talk about. Don't we? You're the Storm, aren't you? The Omega-level hero student who's been all over the news. The boy with the power of a god. Stain's grin was visible even behind his face wrappings. I've been watching you, Midoriya Izuku, and I have a question. I'm not interested in your philosophy. Then your friend dies. Izuku was across the alley in a blink, wind propelling him forward, hand crackling with electricity. Stain's blade was at Ida's throat. Fast, Stain acknowledged, but not fast enough. One more move and the young Ingenium loses his head. Izuku froze, his eyes blazed with barely controlled fury. That's better. Now my question, why do you want to be a hero? What? It's a simple question. You have godlike power. You could do anything. Be anything. Yet you've chosen to attend UA, to train in an institution that will try to control you, to mold you into their image of what a hero should be. Why? Izuku was silent. Is it fame? Stain continued. Because you've certainly achieved that. Every news station in Japan knows your name. Is it money? Your power could make you rich in 100 different ways. Is it justice? Because if so, you're going about it the wrong way. The current hero system is corrupt. Heroes who care more about their brand than saving lives. Celebrities in capes who... I know, Izuku interrupted. Stain paused. What? I know the system is broken. I know there are heroes who are in it for the wrong reasons. Fame seekers, glory hounds, people who care more about merchandise sales than actual heroism. Izuku's voice was calm, measured. You're not telling me anything I haven't already figured out. Then why? Because the system being broken doesn't mean I should abandon it. It means I should fix it. Izuku took a step forward. Stain didn't move the blade. You kill heroes you deem false. You think that by culling the weak, you'll make the profession better, but all you're doing is creating fear. You're not improving anything, you're just adding more bodies to the count. Better a few deaths than a society of false heroes. There's a third option. Another step. Become so strong, so undeniably powerful, that the false heroes either step up their game or step aside. Show them what real heroism looks like. Inspire them to be better, not through fear, but through example. Stain's eyes widened slightly. That's what All Might did, Izuku continued. He became the symbol of peace, not by killing villains, but by saving people. By being so impossibly good that everyone else had to rise to meet his standard. All Might is retired. So someone else has to take his place. Izuku's eyes blazed brighter, and I'm going to be that someone. Not because I want fame or money, not because I think I'm better than everyone else, but because someone needs to be. Someone needs to be the standard that all other heroes are measured against. Stain stared at him for a long moment, then he laughed. You arrogant child, you think you can replace All Might? You think your power is enough? No, Izuku said simply. My power is just a tool. It's what I do with it that matters. He raised his hand. The sky above Hosu opened. Rain began to fall, not a downpour, but a gentle rain, cool and cleansing. It fell only in this alley, nowhere else in the city. Precision control on a microscopic level, the rain touched Ida's wounds, touched Native's paralyzed form, and where it touched, wounds began to close. Stain's eyes went wide. What? How? Charged particles, Izuku explained calmly. Ionized water molecules carrying an electrical current calibrated to stimulate cellular regeneration. I've been working on it for months. Turns out my quirk is good for more than just destruction. Ida gasped as his shoulder wound knit itself closed. Native's eyes regained focus as the paralysis began to fade. You see, Izuku said, power isn't just about how strong you are. It's about how you use that strength. You could have used your quirk to heal, to save. Instead, you used it to kill. Stain lowered his blade, stepping back from Ida. You? The hero killer's voice was different now, quieter. You really believe that, don't you? You're not like the others. You have the power of a god, and you choose to heal. Because that's what heroes do. Stain was silent for a moment. Then he sheathed his blades. I was wrong about you, Midoriya Izuku. You're not a false hero. He looked up at the rain, letting it wash the blood from his hands. You're the real thing. Does that mean you'll turn yourself in? No, Stain's grin returned. My crusade continues, but I won't target you or anyone you deem worthy of protection. You've earned that much. He turned to leave. Izuku's hand shot out, grabbing Stain's wrist. I can't let you go. You just said. I said your philosophy had merit. I didn't say I agreed with your methods. Izuku's grip tightened. Electricity crackled. You've killed 17 heroes, injured dozens more. Whatever your motivations, you're still a murderer. Stain's eyes narrowed. Then you'll have to take me by force. I was hoping you'd say that. What followed was less a fight and more a demonstration. Stain was fast, inhumanly fast, his quirk allowing him to paralyze anyone whose blood he ingested. He'd taken down dozens of pro heroes using nothing but speed, skill, and fanatical determination, but Izuku was faster. Every strike Stain threw, Izuku dodged. Not through prediction or luck, but through physics. He could feel air currents shifting as Stain moved, could sense the displacement of atmosphere that preceded each attack, and when Stain finally managed to land a blade against Izuku's arm, drawing blood, nothing happened. Stain's paralysis quirk failed. How? Electrical current, Izuku explained, casually stepping past Stain's guard. Constantly running through my nervous system. Your quirk works by introducing a foreign agent into the bloodstream that disrupts neural signals. But my blood is ionized. Your agent can't survive in that environment. He placed a hand on Stain's chest. Boom! The shockwave sent Stain flying backward, slamming into the alley wall hard enough to crack brick. The hero killer slumped to the ground, conscious but unable to move. Izuku had hit him with just enough force to incapacitate without killing. I respect your conviction, Izuku said, walking over to the fallen villain. I even agree with some of your points, but I can't let you continue killing people. Heroes deserve better than that, and so do you. Stain coughed, blood on his lips. You're strong, stronger than anyone I've fought. But strength isn't everything, boy. I know, that's why I'm not killing you. Sirens in the distance. The police were coming. Izuku helped Ida to his feet. The blue-haired student was staring at him with a mixture of awe and confusion. Midoriya, you healed me? Working on expanding my quirk's applications. Turns out weather manipulation includes a lot more than just lightning and wind. Izuku smiled. You okay? Ida's voice cracked. He attacked my brother. Tensei, put him in a wheelchair. I came here for revenge, and you just talked to him. I also fought him and won. But yeah, I talked to him first. Izuku looked back at Stain, because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is listen, even to your enemies. Native, now fully recovered from the paralysis, approached cautiously. Kid, that was incredible. How long have you been able to do the healing thing? About 3 weeks. Still working out the kinks. Sometimes the ionization is too strong and it causes muscle spasms instead of regeneration. But I'm getting better. The pro hero laughed in disbelief. You're 15 and you're already developing medical applications for your quirk. UA's really got something special with your class. Police arrived, led by a hero Izuku recognized. Manuel, the water-based hero Ida was supposed to be interning with. Ida, thank God you're... Manuel froze, seeing Stain unconscious against the wall. Did you take down the hero killer? Midoriya did, Ida said quietly. I was I was foolish. I let my anger control me. If Midoriya hadn't arrived when he did, you'd be dead, Izuku said bluntly, and your brother would have lost another family member. Don't do that again, okay? Ida bowed deeply, tears streaming down his face. I won't. I swear it. Thank you, Midoriya. Thank you. The aftermath was messy. Stain was taken into custody, transported under maximum security to Tartarus prison. The media descended on Hosu like locusts, desperate for details about the hero killer's capture, and at the center of it all, once again, was Izuku Midoriya. Omega Storm defeats hero killer, the headlines screamed. 15-year-old UA student develops healing application for weather quirk. Is this the next symbol of peace? Izuku sat in Tempest's agency office, watching the news coverage with a mixture of pride and exhaustion. The Nomu attacks had been dealt with, other heroes had handled those while Izuku was fighting Stain, but the damage to the city was extensive. You did good work tonight, Tempest said, sitting across from him. The hero had removed his goggles, revealing tired eyes. Really good work. That healing technique, that's going to change lives. If I can refine it, Izuku said. Right now, it only works on minor wounds and specific types of paralysis. Anything more severe, and I risk making things worse. You'll figure it out. You're brilliant. Tempest leaned back in his chair. I've been doing this job for 10 years, kid. I've seen a lot of heroes, powerful ones, smart ones, brave ones. But I've never seen anyone quite like you. Is that a compliment or a concern? Both. Tempest pulled up a holographic display showing Izuku's fight with Stain, recorded by a nearby security camera. Look at this, frame by frame. You're not just fighting, you're analyzing, calculating wind resistance, trajectory, force coefficients, all while dodging attacks that would kill most pro heroes. I've had good training. No amount of training explains this. Tempest froze the image at the moment Izuku had dodged 3 of Stain's blades simultaneously while moving toward the villain, not away. This is instinct. This is someone who thinks in terms of physics and atmospheric dynamics. You don't just control the weather, Midoriya. You are weather. It's as natural to you as breathing. Izuku was quiet for a moment. My mom used to say that. When I was little, before I learned control, she said it was like I'd been born speaking a language nobody else could understand. That's a good way to put it. Tempest closed the display, which is why I need to warn you about something. Warn me? Power like yours. It attracts attention. Not all of it good. You've already been targeted by the League of Villains twice. Stain recognized you. Other villains will too. The hero's expression was serious. You need to be careful, kid, because the stronger you get, the bigger a target you become. I can handle it. I know you can. That's not what worries me. Tempest stood, walking to the window. What worries me is that you want to be a target. You want villains to come after you so you can prove how strong you are, and that kind of thinking, that gets people killed. Not me. Maybe not you. But what about the people around you? Your classmates, your teachers, your family? Tempest turned back. Villains who can't hurt you directly will find other ways to attack through the people you care about. The words hit harder than Izuku wanted to admit. Yaoyorozu, his mother. Even Bakugo and the others in Class 1A, they were all potential targets because of him. So what do I do? Izuku asked quietly. Get stronger, but not just in terms of power. Tempest put a hand on his shoulder. Get stronger here. He tapped Izuku's chest. Build connections, form bonds, create a support network of people you can trust. Because when the real fights come, and they will come, you'll need more than just raw power to win. Izuku nodded slowly. I understand. Good. Now get some rest. You've had a long night. As Izuku left the office, his phone buzzed. A text from Yaoyorozu. I saw the news. Are you okay? He smiled and typed back. I'm fine. How's the modeling agency? Boring. I quit. On my way to Hosu. Father was furious, but I don't care. That's my girl. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, your girl? Izuku's heart skipped a beat. Had he really just typed that? Before he could backpedal, she sent another message. I like the sound of that. See you tomorrow, Izuku. He stared at his phone, a genuine smile crossing his face. Yeah, Tempest was right. He needed people he could trust. And Yaoyorozu Momo was at the top of that list. 2 weeks later, UA announced the summer training camp. We're going into the mountains, Aizawa explained to Class 1A, looking even more exhausted than usual. For 1 week, you'll undergo an intensive training designed to push your quirks to their absolute limits. The goal is to develop ultimate moves, the techniques that define you as heroes. Ultimate moves, the class cheered. Don't get too excited, Aizawa warned. This isn't a vacation. You'll be working harder than you've ever worked in your lives. And after the events in Hosu, security will be maximum. No incidents, no attacks. Understood? The class nodded. Izuku raised his hand. What about villains? The League targeted the USJ. They could target the training camp too. We've considered that. The location is secret. Only essential personnel know where we're going, and we'll have pro heroes on site at all times. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. That said, stay alert, all of you. The bus ride to the training camp was loud. Students chatted excitedly, discussing what their ultimate moves might be. Bakugo sat in the back, glaring at everyone and muttering about explosions. Todoroki was quiet, lost in thought. Kirishima and Kaminari were arm wrestling. Izuku sat next to Yaoyorozu, who'd claimed the seat with the determination of someone staking a territorial claim. So, she said, pulling out a notebook, I've been thinking about my ultimate move. What if I created a massive cannon that fires? Too slow, Izuku interrupted gently. Your strength is versatility. A big weapon limits your options. Then what do you suggest? Rapid creation. Flood the battlefield with dozens of smaller items instead of one big one. Keep your opponent guessing, unable to focus on any single threat. Her eyes lit up. Like a swarm tactic? Exactly. Use quantity and quality. Small flash grenades, caltrops, nets, smoke bombs, all created in seconds. By the time your opponent realizes what's happening, they're already trapped. That's brilliant. She scribbled notes furiously. What about you? What's your ultimate move? Izuku grinned. I'm calling it Ragnarok Storm. That sounds ominous. It's supposed to. The idea is to create a localized weather phenomenon so intense that it reshapes the battlefield entirely. Lightning strikes, hurricane force winds, temperature drops, pressure changes, all happening simultaneously in a controlled area. How large an area? In theory, a city. Yaoyorozu's pen stopped moving. You're planning an ultimate move that can affect an entire city? Why think small? Because that's terrifying. That's the point. If I can control weather on that scale, no villain will want to fight me. It's deterrence through overwhelming force. And if you lose control, Izuku's expression sobered. Then a lot of people die, which is why I'm not using it unless absolutely necessary. It's a last resort technique. Promise me you'll be careful with it. I promise. She relaxed slightly, then leaned her head on his shoulder. Good. Because I'd like you to be around for a while. Izuku felt his face heat up. Around them, several classmates were definitely watching, whispering and giggling. He didn't care. Let them watch. The training camp was located deep in a forest, surrounded by mountains and isolated from civilization. Perfect for quirk training without worrying about collateral damage. The Pussycats, a hero team specializing in rescue operations, ran the camp. Their leader, Mandalay, was a cheerful woman with cat ears and a telepathy quirk. Welcome to our facility, she announced. For the next week, you'll be training your bodies and your quirks. We'll start with a test, making it to the camp lodge through the forest, using your quirks. How far is the lodge? Someone asked. About 3 kilometers through very rough terrain. Mandalay's grin was almost evil. You have 3 hours. Good luck. The students quickly realized why she was smiling. The forest was filled with earth beasts, massive golems created by Pixie Bob, another Pussycat member. Each one was the size of a small building made of dirt and stone and programmed to attack students. Chaos erupted. Students scattered, using their quirks to fight or evade the beasts. Bakugo blasted through them with explosions. Todoroki froze them solid. Kirishima punched them into rubble. Izuku just flew over everything. Wind currents carried him above the tree line, letting him survey the battlefield below. He could see his classmates struggling, working together to take down the massive constructs. Should he help? No. This was their test. He'd let them handle it. He landed near the lodge 15 minutes later. The Pussycats stared. How did you? The test was supposed to take, Mandalay sputtered. I can fly, Izuku said simply. Was I supposed to walk? Pixie Bob laughed. Kid's got a point. Okay, you pass. Wait inside while the others catch up. It took the rest of the class 2 hours to reach the lodge. They arrived exhausted, covered in dirt and minor injuries, glaring at Izuku, who sat on the porch looking completely relaxed. Show off, Bakugo snarled. Efficient, Izuku corrected. That night, training began in earnest. Each student was assigned to work on expanding their quirk's capabilities. For most, this meant pushing their limits, using their powers in new ways for longer durations with greater precision. For Izuku, it meant control. Your power is already overwhelming, Aizawa explained. You don't need more strength, you need precision. The ability to use exactly as much power as necessary, no more, no less. I already have precision control. Not enough. Aizawa held up a sheet of paper. I want you to create a wind current strong enough to lift this paper exactly 1 centimeter off the ground. Hold it there for 10 minutes without it moving higher or lower. Izuku blinked. That's incredibly specific. That's the point. Anyone can create a hurricane. True mastery is controlling a breeze. It was hard. Harder than anything Izuku had done before. Maintaining a wind current at exactly the right strength, compensating for natural air currents, keeping the paper perfectly level. It required concentration so intense that sweat beaded on his forehead within minutes. The paper wobbled. Rose 2 centimeters. Again, Aizawa said. Izuku tried again. The paper stayed level for 30 seconds, then dipped. Again. By the end of the night, Izuku could hold the paper at 1 centimeter for 5 minutes. Not the full 10, but progress. Better, Aizawa acknowledged. Keep practicing. True control comes from repetition. Around him, other students were making their own progress. Bakugo was learning to focus his explosions into concentrated beams instead of scattered blasts. Todoroki was working on simultaneous ice and fire use, creating temperature differentials he could exploit. Yaoyorozu was speed creating items, her production time dropping from 10 seconds to 7. Even Mineta, the grape-headed student nobody liked, was improving, learning to control the stickiness and trajectory of his spheres. It was good. They were all getting stronger, which made what happened next even worse. On the third night, Izuku woke to screaming. Not training screams. Terror screams. He was out of his cabin in seconds, eyes blazing white, electricity crackling around him. The forest was on fire. Blue flames, unnatural, too hot to be normal combustion, spread through the trees like living things. Students ran from the blaze, some already injured. And walking through the flames, untouched by the heat, was a figure wrapped in a long coat. Patches of burned skin held together by staples. Dabi. Well, well, the villain said, grinning. Look who's awake. We were hoping to grab a few of you before anyone noticed, but I guess the Omega Storm doesn't need much sleep, huh? Behind Dabi, more villains emerged from the smoke. Toga, the blonde girl with the blood obsession, twirling knives. Muscular, a mountain of a man with muscle fibers erupting from his skin. Magni, wielding a massive magnetized weapon, and standing at the back, orchestrating it all. Compress, the villain with the marble quirk. League of Villains, Izuku said calmly, though his heart was racing. Third time's the charm? Something like that. Dabi's flames intensified. We're here for Bakugo. Hands orders, but if we happen to grab you instead, even better. Not happening. Then I guess we do this the hard way. Muscular launched himself at Izuku with a roar, fist cocked back, muscle fibers bulging grotesquely. Izuku didn't dodge. He created a downdraft, a column of air pressure slamming down from above, that drove Muscular into the ground with the force of a meteor impact. Crater. The villain hit so hard the earth fractured, creating spiderweb cracks that spread for 20 feet in every direction. That's one, Izuku said. Toga giggled and rushed forward, knives flashing. Izuku created a wind barrier. The knives bounced off like they'd hit solid steel. 2. Magni swung their weapon, magnetic force pulling metal debris from the surrounding area. Nails, tools, fragments of destroyed equipment, creating a swirling storm of shrapnel. Izuku raised his hand. Lightning. The bolt struck Magni's weapon, superheating the metal instantly. The villains screamed and dropped it. Their hands burned. 3. Dabi watched it all with fascination. Damn, you really are as strong as they say. Stronger. Izuku's eyes blazed brighter. Last chance to leave. Take your people and go. Now. And miss the show? Dabi's grin widened. Not a chance. His flames erupted, blue fire washing over Izuku like a tidal wave. For a moment, Izuku was completely engulfed in flames. The students watching screamed. Then the flames died. Not slowly. Instantly. Snuffed out like candles. Izuku stood there, completely unharmed, not even singed. How? Dabi started. Oxygen, Izuku explained calmly. Fire needs it to burn. I removed all the oxygen in my immediate vicinity. Your flames can't reach me. He took a step forward. Rain began to fall. Not normal rain, heavy rain, a deluge that appeared from nowhere, drenching the entire area in seconds. Dabi's flames sputtered and died. The forest fire started to extinguish. You wanted the Omega Storm? Izuku said, his voice carrying over the downpour. You got it. Thunder boomed overhead. Muscular dragged himself out of the crater, roaring with rage. I'm not done yet. He charged again, even faster this time. Izuku sighed. Yes, you are. He created a tornado, a localized funnel cloud that formed in seconds, picking up Muscular mid-charge and launching him into the air. The villain spun helplessly, his enhanced strength useless against wind speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour. Izuku let the tornado carry Muscular half a mile into the forest before dispersing it. The villain crashed through trees like a wrecking ball. He'll live, Izuku said. Probably wish he hadn't, but he'll live. Compress stepped forward, hands raised. Impressive. But you're forgetting something, Storm. What's that? You're not the only target. Marbles flew through the air, dozens of them scattering among the students who'd gathered to watch the fight. Izuku's eyes widened. No! He created a wind current to catch the marbles, but Compress was fast. Several found their targets. Bakugo disappeared into a marble. Tokoyami disappeared into another. Gotcha! Compress crowed, snatching the marbles from the air. Dabi grabbed Compress. We're done here. Mission accomplished. Let's go. A portal opened behind them, Kurogiri's warp gate. You're not leaving, Izuku snarled. He raised both hands. The sky opened. Lightning fell like rain. Dozens of bolts all targeting the portal, trying to collapse it before the villains could escape. But Kurogiri was good. The warp gate absorbed the lightning, redirecting it harmlessly. The villains disappeared through the portal, taking Bakugo and Tokoyami with them. Izuku stood there, fists clenched, rain pouring down around him. He'd failed. Despite all his power, despite everything he could do, the villains had still gotten what they came for. Damn it! His scream echoed across the mountain. Thunder answered. The aftermath was chaos. Pro-heroes arrived within minutes. Aizawa, the Pussycats, even All Might in his civilian form. They found Izuku standing in the rain, still glowing with power, staring at the spot where the portal had been. Midoriya, Aizawa said carefully. What happened? They took them. Bakugo and Tokoyami. The League, they took them. We know. We received Mandalay's telepathic distress call. Every available hero is being mobilized. It's not enough. Izuku's voice was hollow. I fought them. I had them. Muscular, Toga, Dabi. I beat them all. And they still won because I wasn't fast enough. This isn't your fault. Yes, it is. Izuku whirled on Aizawa, eyes blazing. I'm supposed to be the strongest. I have more power than anyone in this school, maybe in the entire country, and I couldn't save 2 people. Midoriya, don't. Izuku's fists clenched. Just don't. I know what you're going to say. That I did my best, that nobody could have done better, but that's not good enough. Bakugo is gone because I hesitated. Tokoyami is gone because I focused on the wrong targets. Aizawa was quiet for a moment. Then, you're right, Izuku blinked. What? You did hesitate. You did focus on the wrong targets. And that is your fault. Aizawa's expression was stern. But feeling sorry for yourself won't bring them back. What will bring them back is action. Smart, calculated action. The heroes are following official channels, gathering intel, planning a coordinated raid, following procedure. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. But we both know that takes time. Time Bakugo and Tokoyami might not have. Understanding dawned on Izuku's face. You're saying, I'm not saying anything officially, but if a student were to, say, plant a tracking device on one of the villains during the fight, and if that student were to recruit a small team to follow that tracker, well, I'd have to punish them afterward. But I'd understand why they did it. Izuku's eyes widened. Aizawa turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Midoriya, if you're going to break the rules, at least be smart about it. Don't go alone, and don't get caught. He walked away, leaving Izuku standing in the rain. A plan formed in his mind. Crazy. Dangerous. Probably suicidal. Perfect. He pulled out his phone and started texting. Yaoyorozu, Totoro, Kirishima, Ida. I need your help. Meet me in my cabin. 5 minutes. The rescue team assembled in record time. Yaoyorozu arrived first, her expression determined. I assume this is about Bakugo and Tokoyami? Yeah, I'm in. Todoroki came next, ice already forming on his right side. Where are we going? Don't know yet, but when I figure it out, we move fast. Kirishima practically kicked down the door. Finally, I've been going crazy waiting for someone to do something. Let's go save Bakugo. Ida was last, looking conflicted. This is against school rules. We should let the pros handle it. The pros will take too long, Izuku said bluntly. By the time they coordinate a rescue, Bakugo and Tokoyami could be dead, or worse, recruited. But, Ida, I'm going with or without you. But I'd rather have you with me. You're smart, fast, and level-headed. I need that. Ida was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. If we're doing this, we do it right. No unnecessary risks, no heroics. We get in, grab them, and get out. Agreed. Yaoyorozu pulled out a small device, a GPS tracker disguised as a button. I managed to attach this to Compress's coat during the fight. It's still transmitting. She pulled up a map on her phone. A red dot pulsed in downtown Kamino Ward. That's where they are, Izuku said. Let's go. How? Kirishima asked. We're in the middle of the mountains. No transportation. No. Izuku smiled. We have transportation. He led them outside and pointed up. I'll fly us there. All of us? Todoroki raised an eyebrow. Wind currents can support a lot of weight, as long as you trust me. I trust you, Yaoyorozu said immediately. The others nodded, though Kirishima looked nervous. All right then, everyone hold hands. This is going to be fast. They formed a chain, hands linked. Izuku raised his free hand. Wind erupted around them, lifting the entire group into the air like they weighed nothing. And then they were flying, carried by currents that moved faster than any vehicle, straight toward Kamino Ward, toward the League of Villains, toward a fight that would change everything. The flight took 2 hours. Izuku kept them at high altitude, 10,000 feet, where the air was thin and cold, but the wind currents were strong. He created a bubble of warm, pressurized air around the group so they could breathe normally. Below, Japan scrolled by like a map, cities, forests, mountains, all reduced to tiny details. This is incredible, Kirishima shouted over the wind. How are you even doing this? Practice, Izuku called back. Lots and lots of practice. They descended as they approached Kamino Ward, dropping to street level in an alley several blocks from the tracker's location. The red dot pulsed from inside what looked like an abandoned warehouse. That's it, Yaoyorozu confirmed. The signal's strong. They're definitely in there. So we just walk in? Kirishima asked. No, Izuku said. We play Yorozu? Can you create surveillance equipment? Cameras? Listening devices? Already on it. She concentrated, and a small drone materialized from her arm. Micro-surveillance unit. It can get inside through ventilation shafts. She activated it, and they watched on her phone as the drone navigated through the warehouse. The interior was massive, a former shipping facility now converted into what looked like a villain base. Crates stacked high, makeshift rooms created from shipping containers, and at the center, a portal. Massive, swirling with dark energy, easily 20 feet across. And standing in front of it, bound and restrained, were Bakugo and Tokoyami. But they weren't alone. The entire League of Villains was there. Shigaraki, scratching his neck compulsively. Kurogiri, his misty form hovering near the portal. Dabi, flames flickering around his hands, giggling and playing with knives. Compress, Muscular, Magni, everyone. And at the back, emerging from the portal, a figure. Tall. Dressed in a black suit, face hidden behind a mask. All for one. Oh shit, Todoroki breathed. He's supposed to be in Tartarus. Ida stammered. He escaped. Izuku said grimly. Somehow he escaped, and now he's here. They watched as All for One approached Bakugo. Such rage. The villain's voice echoed through the warehouse, picked up by the drone's microphone. Such potential. You could be magnificent, young Bakugo. With the right training, you could surpass even All Might. Go to hell, Bakugo snarled. Defiant. I like that. All for One turned to Tokoyami. And you. A quirk that grows stronger in darkness. How delightfully ironic. Join us, and I'll show you power beyond imagination. Never, Tokoyami said firmly. We'll see. All for One raised his hand. Boom! The warehouse wall exploded inward. Not from an attack, from All Might. The symbol of peace stood in the breach, muscles bulging, cape billowing, that trademark smile gone. All for One. All Might's voice shook the building. Release those students now. Ah, Toshinori. Right on time. All for One's laugh was chilling. I was hoping you'd come. It's been too long since our last meeting. Last time we fought, I beat you, put you in that mask, sent you to prison. And look how well that worked out. All for One gestured to himself. I'm free. And you? You're weak. I can sense it. Your time limit has decreased. Your power is fading. I'm strong enough to beat you. Then prove it. What followed was destruction. All Might and All for One clashed with the force of earthquakes. Each punch created shockwaves that rattled windows for blocks. Each quirk activation reshaped the battlefield. All for One used multiple quirks simultaneously: strength enhancement, air propulsion, impact reversal, kinetic absorption. He was a monster, every bit as powerful as All Might, despite his injuries. And All Might? He fought like a man with everything to lose. We have to help him, Kirishima shouted. No. Izuku grabbed his arm. All Might told us to stay out of his fights. This is his battle. But he's winning. Look. Despite All for One's versatility, All Might's raw power was overwhelming. Each punch drove the villain back. Each United States of Smash shook the foundation of the warehouse, but All Might was slowing. Izuku could see it. The way his movements became slightly less precise, the way his breathing grew labored, his time limit was running out. We need to move, Izuku said. Get Bakugo and Tokoyami while they're distracted. The team split up. Todoroki and Ida went for Tokoyami, using ice and speed to reach him before the League could react. Kirishima and Yaoyorozu went for Bakugo, the redhead's hardening quirk deflecting attacks, while Yaoyorozu created tools to break his restraints. And Izuku? Izuku flew straight at All for One. Midoriya, no! All Might shouted. Too late. Izuku crashed into All for One like a thunderbolt, lightning crackling, wind howling. The villain laughed. The Omega Storm! How perfect! I was hoping to meet you. He grabbed Izuku's wrist, his touch like ice. Izuku felt it immediately. All for One was trying to steal his quirk. The sensation was horrible, like something was being ripped from his soul, torn away piece by piece. No, Izuku screamed. He channeled everything into one desperate attack. Lightning. Not a bolt, not a dozen. A column. Sustained electrical discharge directly into All for One's body, temperature exceeding 30,000 degrees, power enough to vaporize steel. All for One screamed. His grip released. Izuku pulled back, gasping, his quirk still intact, but barely. Interesting, All for One said, smoke rising from his burned hands. Your quirk is too integrated with your biology. I can't steal it without killing you, and I'd rather recruit you than kill you. Not interested. We'll see. All Might slammed into All for One, driving him through the warehouse wall. The two titans fought in the street now, buildings crumbling, cars crushed, the entire district evacuating. Got them, Kirishima shouted, helping Bakugo to his feet. Tokoyami's free too, Todoroki reported. Then we go. Izuku created a wind barrier around the group. Now, they ran. Behind them, All Might and All for One's fight reached its climax. All Might, burning through the last of his power, raised his fist for one final attack. United. States. Smash. The punch connected. The shockwave was apocalyptic. Every window within a mile shattered. The ground split. And All for One, he was launched backward, flying like a meteor, crashing through building after building before finally coming to rest in a crater half a mile away. Defeated. But All Might? He deflated. His muscular form collapsed, revealing the skeletal, wounded man beneath. Toshinori Yagi, the real All Might. And every camera in the city captured it. The symbol of peace's secret was revealed to the world. The days after Kamino were chaos. All Might's true form was on every news channel. The public was in shock. Their symbol of peace had been hiding a devastating injury for years. Debates raged about whether heroes could be trusted, whether All Might had been lying to them. But there was another story getting just as much attention. UA students conduct unauthorized rescue. Omega Storm fights alongside All Might. First years take down League of Villains. Izuku and his team were famous and in serious trouble. Principal Nedzu called them to his office the day after the incident. The small, possibly a mouse creature sat behind his desk, paws steepled, expression unreadable. Well, he said finally, that was quite the adventure. We can explain. Ida started. No need. I know exactly what happened. You disobeyed direct orders, left school grounds without permission, engaged villains far above your experience level, and participated in a battle that resulted in millions of yen in property damage. The students looked at the floor. However, Nedzu continued, you also rescued 2 students, assisted in the defeat of All for One, and demonstrated teamwork, courage, and quick thinking under pressure. He smiled. So here's what's going to happen. Officially, you're suspended for 1 week. House arrest, no hero activities, strict supervision. The media will see that UA takes rule-breaking seriously. Relief flooded through them. Unofficially, Nedzu's smile widened. Good work. All of you. You saved lives and captured villains. That's what heroes do. Just next time, try to follow procedure, at least a little bit. They were dismissed. As they left, Nedzu called after them. Oh, and Midoriya? A word? Izuku stayed behind while the others left. You fought all for one, Nedzu said simply. Briefly, he tried to steal my quirk. And failed, I understand, because your quirk is too integrated with your biology to remove. Nedzu's eyes gleamed. Do you know what that means? That I'm safe from his most dangerous ability? That you're one of the few people in the world who can fight him without fear of losing your quirk. That makes you invaluable, Midoriya. And also a target. I can handle it. I'm sure you can. But be careful. All for One has been defeated twice now. Once by All Might years ago and once yesterday. When he escapes again, and he will escape, you'll be at the top of his list. Let him come, Nedzu laughed. Such confidence. It's refreshing. Just don't let it make you reckless. Izuku left the office, mind racing. All for One would come for him. The League would come for him. Every major villain in Japan now knew his name, his face, his power. He'd wanted to be noticed. Mission accomplished. Now he had to deal with the consequences. The week of house arrest was boring. Izuku spent it training, not his quirk since he couldn't use it without getting caught, but his mind. Reading hero theory, studying villain tactics, analyzing footage from the Camino fight. All Might visited on the third day. The skeletal form of Toshinori Yagi looked even smaller in person than on TV. Young Midoriya, he said, sitting on Izuku's dorm bed. We need to talk. About what? About what happens now. All for One is imprisoned again, maximum security this time, but he won't stay that way forever. And when he escapes, he'll come for you. I know. And you're prepared for that? I have to be. Izuku met All Might's eyes. You're retired. Someone has to take your place as the symbol of peace. Someone has to be strong enough to stand against villains like him. And you think that someone is you? I know it is. All Might was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, that genuine, warm smile that had made him a symbol to begin with. You remind me of myself at your age, so determined, so sure of your path. His expression sobered. But power alone isn't enough, my boy. I learned that the hard way. You need people, allies, friends, a support network. I have that. My classmates, my teachers, Yaoyorozu. Then nurture those relationships, because when the real battles come, and they will come, you'll need more than just raw power to win. You're the second person to tell me that recently. Then maybe you should listen. All Might stood. I'm proud of you, Midoriya. What you did at Camino was brave and reckless in equal measure. But it was also heroic. Don't lose that spirit. Just temper it with wisdom. He left. Izuku sat alone in his room, processing. Power wasn't enough. He was the strongest student at UA, possibly the strongest hero in training in the country. His quirk gave him capabilities that bordered on godlike. But that hadn't been enough to stop All for One from trying to steal his quirk. Hadn't been enough to prevent Bakugo and Tokoyami from being captured. Hadn't been enough to save All Might's career. He needed to be better. Not stronger. Better. His phone buzzed. A text from Yaoyorozu. House arrest is boring. Want a video call? He smiled and dialed. Her face appeared on screen, looking tired but happy. Hey, she said. How are you holding up? Good. Bored? You? Same. I've been creating items and destroying them just to have something to do. My room looks like a workshop exploded. Izuku laughed. Your poor cleaning staff? They're very patient. She paused. I've been thinking about Camino, about what happened. Yeah? You were incredible, Izuku. The way you fought All for One, saved All Might, protected all of us. Her expression grew serious, but I also saw how close it was. If All for One had stolen your quirk, he couldn't. It's too integrated. This time. But what about next time? What if he finds a way? What if the League develops a quirk-destroying weapon like the one Overhaul was working on? Then I'll deal with it. You can't deal with everything alone. I'm not alone. I have you. She blushed. Yes, you do. Always. They talked for 2 more hours about nothing and everything. Training, classes, their families, their dreams. And when they finally hung up, Izuku felt lighter. Tempest had been right. Connections mattered. People mattered. And Yaoyorozu, she mattered most of all. Time skip 3 months later. The provisional license exam came and went like a breeze. Izuku passed with a perfect score, the highest in exam history. His rescue scenario performance was so flawless that the judges literally had nothing to critique. Other students struggled. Bakugo and Todoroki both failed the exam, their aggressive approaches and poor teamwork costing them points. But Izuku? He'd created a controlled rainstorm that put out fires, used wind currents to catch falling civilians, and coordinated with other students so effectively that the rescue was completed in record time. He got his provisional license on the first try. Bakugo was furious. How? The blonde screamed at Izuku after the results were posted. How do you keep winning at everything? Because I work smarter, not just harder, Izuku said calmly. You're strong, Kachan, maybe even strong enough to beat me one day. But strength isn't everything, you need strategy. I don't need your advice. Then keep failing exams while I move forward. Bakugo's hands sparked. Explosions ready to fly, then he stopped. Took a deep breath and walked away. Progress. Small progress, but progress nonetheless. With his provisional license secured, Izuku was approved for more advanced internships. He chose to work with Sir Night-Eye, a hero famous for his analytical abilities and his former position as All Might's sidekick. The meeting did not go well. You're too reckless, Sir Night-Eye said bluntly, adjusting his glasses. Your power is extraordinary, but you use it without proper planning. You charge into situations without considering the consequences. I get results. Results don't matter if people die achieving them. Nobody's died. Yet. But they will if you continue this way. Sir Night-Eye pulled up holographic displays showing Izuku's fights, the USJ, Hosu, Kamino. Look at this. Every battle, you put yourself at the center of danger. You make yourself the target. That's stupid. It's strategic. I'm the strongest, so I draw enemy focus away from civilians and weaker heroes. And when you lose, when you encounter an enemy stronger than you, that hasn't happened yet. It will. Sir Night-Eye leaned forward. My quirk is foresight. I can see the future of anyone I touch. And I've seen yours, Midoriya. Izuku went still. What did you see? Death. Destruction. You, standing alone against an enemy you can't defeat, too proud to call for help, too confident in your power, and everyone around you dying because of it. The words hit like a physical blow. That's not going to happen. Not if you change. Not if you learn to work as part of a team instead of a one-man army. Sir Night-Eye's expression softened slightly. You have incredible potential, Midoriya, but potential means nothing if it gets you killed. Let me teach you strategy. Let me show you how to use your power intelligently. Izuku was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay, teach me. The internship with Sir Night-Eye was brutal. The hero put Izuku through scenario after scenario, each one designed to show the limits of raw power. You're in a hostage situation. The villain has a gun to a child's head. You can kill the villain with lightning before he pulls the trigger. Do you? Yes. Wrong. You've now traumatized the child with the sight of a man being electrocuted inches from their face. Try again. I use wind to disarm the villain without killing him. Wrong. The sudden movement might cause his finger to contract, firing the gun anyway. Try again. I create a distraction, thunder to make him look away, then disarm him? Better. But what if the villain is deaf? What if he's trained to ignore distractions? You need multiple backup plans, Midoriya. Power is your primary tool, but it shouldn't be your only tool. It was humbling. Izuku had spent his entire life relying on the fact that his quirk could solve any problem. Lightning for offense, wind for mobility, weather manipulation for control. But Sir Night-Eye kept finding scenarios where raw power wasn't enough. Psychological manipulation, hostage negotiations, infiltration missions where using his quirk would alert enemies. You're learning, Sir Night-Eye acknowledged after 2 weeks. Slowly, but you're learning. Keep this up and you might actually become a competent hero instead of just a powerful one. Then, the Shihaseikai case landed on their desk. A Yakuza organization, led by a villain named Overhaul, was manufacturing quirk-destroying bullets, and they were using a child to do it. A little girl named Eri, whose quirk Rewind could literally reverse a person to a previous state, including a state before they had a quirk. The briefing was grim. Overhaul is torturing this child, Sir Night-Eye explained, holographic images showing Eri's medical records. He's using her blood to create bullets that permanently destroy quirks. If this technology spreads, it could end hero society as we know it. Then we stop him, Izuku said simply. When do we raid? In 3 days? We're coordinating with multiple agencies. Ryukyu, Fat Gum, Eraserhead. This is a major operation. I'm ready. Sir Night-Eye studied him. Are you? Because this isn't like the USJ or Camino. This is a child's life at stake. You can't just blast your way in and hope for the best. I know. Then prove it. Show me a plan. Izuku spent the next 3 days analyzing everything about the Shi Hasaikai, their base layout, overhauls quirk capabilities, the number of subordinates, possible escape routes. He created diagrams, ran simulations, consulted with other heroes, and when the raid day arrived, he had a strategy. Not just hit everything with lightning, an actual plan. The raid began at dawn. Multiple hero teams hit the Shi Hasaikai compound simultaneously, overwhelming their defenses through coordination. Izuku was assigned to Team 3, with Sir Night-Eye, Lemillion, Mirio Togata, third-year UA student, and Eraserhead. Their objective, penetrate the compound's lower levels and secure Eri. It went wrong immediately. The compound had been modified, walls that shifted, corridors that rearranged, traps everywhere. It's Overhaul's quirk, Eraserhead explained, his capture weapon binding and attacking subordinate. He can reshape matter at will. The entire building is his weapon. They fought through layer after layer of defenders. Mirio took point, his permeation quirk letting him pass through walls and ambush enemies. Eraserhead provided support, erasing quirks and binding villains with his capture weapon. Sir Night-Eye analyzed enemy movements, predicting attacks before they happened. And Izuku? He held back. It went against every instinct. His power could end this fight in seconds. A localized storm, sustained lightning strikes, wind pressure to incapacitate everyone simultaneously. But Sir Night-Eye's training held. Don't use overwhelming force unless necessary. Preserve your energy. Let the team work. So he used precise attacks, targeted wind blasts to disarm enemies, small electrical shocks to stun without killing, atmospheric pressure adjustments to make enemies dizzy and disoriented. It was slower than his usual approach, but it was effective. They reached the lower levels and found Eri. The little girl sat in a sterile room, wearing a hospital gown, her eyes empty. Bandages covered her arms where blood had been drawn. She looked at them without hope. "It's okay," Mirio said gently, approaching her. "We're heroes. We're here to save you." The wall exploded. Overhaul emerged, his plague doctor mask hiding his face, gloved hands already glowing with quirk energy. "You're too late," he said calmly. "She's mine, my life's work. You won't take her." Mirio moved to protect Eri. Overhaul's hand touched the floor. Spikes erupted, razor sharp, covering the room in an instant. Mirio phased through them, protecting Eri with his body. But one spike, clipped his shoulder, and embedded in that spike was a quirk-destroying bullet. Izuku felt it. The moment Mirio's quirk vanished, the third year's expression went from determined to horrified as he realized he could no longer permeate. "Mirio!" Izuku shouted. Overhaul was already moving, more spikes forming, aiming for Eri. Izuku moved, faster than thought, riding a wind current that launched him between Overhaul and the girl. Lightning crackled around his body, forming a barrier that the spikes shattered against. "Get Eri out of here," Izuku commanded Mirio. "Now! But I can't, my quirk. You can still run. Go!" Mirio grabbed Eri and fled, his years of training letting him navigate even without his quirk, which left Izuku alone with Overhaul. "So," the villain said, spikes retracting back into the floor. "You're the Omega Storm. I've heard about you, the boy who can create hurricanes. And you're the villain who tortures children. I've heard about you too." "Torture? No, I'm saving her. Saving the world. Quirks are a plague on humanity. They make us monsters. I'm developing the cure. By destroying people's quirks? By hurting a child? Necessary sacrifices. She has to suffer now so that millions can be normal later." Izuku's eyes blazed white. "You're insane, and you're in my way." Overhaul touched the floor. The entire room restructured itself. Floor became walls. Walls became ceiling. Ceiling became floor. The geometry shifted, creating a maze of angles and surfaces that shouldn't exist. Izuku flew up, using wind to stabilize himself in the chaos. "Impressive," Overhaul acknowledged. "But let's see how you handle this." He touched the wall. The wall became a spike aimed directly at Izuku's chest. Izuku dodged barely, the spike passing so close it tore his costume. Another spike, another dodge. Dozens of spikes, all moving independently, all controlled by Overhaul's quirk. It was like fighting the room itself. Izuku created a wind barrier, deflecting the spikes, but Overhaul just made more. Hundreds, thousands. The entire compound's matter was at his disposal. "You can't win," Overhaul said calmly. "I can reshape everything around you. You're fighting the world itself." "Then I'll change the world." Izuku raised both hands. Atmospheric pressure. He compressed the air around Overhaul, creating a localized high-pressure zone that made movement impossible. The villain couldn't breathe, couldn't move, could barely think. His quirk deactivated. The spikes stopped. "Your quirk is powerful," Izuku said, descending to stand in front of the gasping villain. "But it requires touch, and you can't touch anything when you can't move." He maintained the pressure for 10 more seconds, letting Overhaul feel true helplessness. Then he released it. Overhaul gasped, sucking in air, his hands scrabbling at the floor. Eraserhead's capture weapon wrapped around him, binding his hands before he could activate his quirk. "Good work, Midoriya," the teacher said, eyes glowing as he maintained his erasure quirk. "But next time, don't cut it so close. That spike almost killed you." "Almost doesn't count." Sir Night-Eye appeared, helping secure Overhaul. "The compound is clear. Heroes have secured all the subordinates. Eri is safe. And Mirio? His quirk is gone. Permanently, unless we can reverse the effects somehow." Sir Night-Eye's expression was grim. "But he's alive, and he saved that girl. That's what matters." They emerged from the compound to find Eri being treated by medical heroes, wrapped in a blanket, looking terrified. Izuku approached slowly, making himself small and non-threatening. "Hey," he said gently. "I'm Izuku. You're safe now, okay?" Eri looked up at him with those empty eyes, then slowly she nodded. "Nobody's gonna hurt you anymore. I promise." She started to cry, not sad tears, relief tears, and Izuku held her, letting her sob against his chest, creating a gentle, warm breeze to comfort her. Sir Night-Eye watched from a distance. "I was wrong about you," the hero murmured to himself. "You're not just powerful, you're good, genuinely good." Later that night, after Eri had been taken to a hospital and Overhaul had been secured in Tartarus, Sir Night-Eye pulled Izuku aside. "I used my foresight on you again," he said, "and the future I saw, it changed. You still face incredible danger, powerful enemies, battles that will test everything you are, but you don't face them alone anymore. You have people fighting beside you, trusting you, following you. Is that good? It's better than dying alone." Sir Night-Eye smiled, a rare, genuine expression. "You're becoming a true hero, Midoriya, not just because of your power, but because of your heart. Don't lose that. I won't." But as Izuku left the agency that night, he felt a chill run down his spine. Powerful enemies, Sir Night-Eye had said. Battles that would test everything. The League was still out there. All for One was imprisoned, but not defeated. And somewhere, someone was watching him, waiting for the right moment to strike. The storm was far from over. In fact, it had barely begun. Time skip. 6 months later. Second year. UA's second year brought changes. New students in Class 1A to replace those who'd graduated or transferred. New teachers, including a pro hero named Endeavor, who'd reluctantly agreed to mentor students after All Might's retirement. And new challenges. Izuku had grown in the months since the Shi-Hasaikai raid. His control had improved to the point where he could create weather phenomena on a microscopic scale. Individual raindrops, targeted lightning strikes the width of a hair. His healing technique had advanced too. He could now treat moderate injuries, close wounds, even jumpstart stopped hearts using carefully controlled electrical pulses. He wasn't just a fighter anymore, he was a healer. Eri lived at UA now, under the protection of Aizawa and the faculty. Her quirk was slowly being trained, her trauma slowly healing. She'd formed an attachment to Izuku, would only eat if he was present, only sleep if she knew he was nearby. "You saved her life," Yaoyorozu said one afternoon, watching Izuku teach Eri how to use her rewind quirk on apples, reversing them from rotten to fresh. "She trusts you completely. She's been through hell. Of course she's clingy. It's more than that. You're her hero, her symbol of safety. I'm just a student." "No," Yaoyorozu turned to face him fully. "You're the student. Everyone knows it. You're the strongest in our year, probably the strongest hero in training in Japan. You've defeated villains that pro heroes struggle with. You've saved countless lives." "Momo, let me finish." Her dark eyes were intense. You're going to be the #1 hero someday. Everyone can see it. And she took a breath. I want to be there when you are, by your side, as your partner. Izuku's heart raced. Partner as in everything. Hero partner, life partner. If you'll have me. He kissed her, right there in the middle of UA's training grounds with students probably watching. He kissed Yaoyorozu Momo like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. When they broke apart, she was glowing. I'll take that as a yes, she said breathlessly. Yeah, definitely yes. They became official that day. The school's power couple. Omega Storm and the creation hero, Kriat. The media loved it. Classmates shipped it. Even Aizawa gave a rare smile when he saw them holding hands in the hallway. But not everyone was happy. Bakugo watched from a distance, jaw clenched, hands sparking. Not because he wanted Yaoyorozu, he didn't. But because it was another reminder that Izuku was winning at everything. Strongest quirk, best grades, beautiful girlfriend, provisional license, internship with a top hero, everything Bakugo had wanted for himself, Deku had achieved first. You gonna keep staring or actually do something? Kirishima asked, appearing at Bakugo's side. Shut up. Dude, you gotta let it go. Midoriya's not your enemy. He's always been my enemy since we were kids. No, he's your rival. There's a difference. Enemies want to destroy each other. Rivals push each other to be better. Bakugo was quiet. Then I'm gonna beat him. At the next sports festival, in front of everyone, I'm gonna prove I'm better. Good luck with that. He's gotten even stronger since last year. So have I. And he had. Bakugo's explosion quirk had evolved. He could now create explosions with precision. No wasted energy, every blast exactly as powerful as needed. He'd been training with Endeavor, learning how to fight opponents stronger than himself through tactics instead of raw power. He was ready. Or so he thought. The second-year sports festival arrived with even more fanfare than the first. The entire nation watched. Pro heroes scouted. International media covered it. And at the center of attention, as always, was Izuku Midoriya. The opening event was a race, but not a normal obstacle course. This was a flying race. A 10-kilometer course through the sky above UA with wind tunnels, artificial storm clouds, and aerial obstacles. We figured we should play to someone's strengths, Principal Nedzu announced cheerfully. And since we have a student who can fly... Izuku grinned. This was going to be fun. The starting gun fired. Students with flight quirks, mobility quirks, creation quirks that could make flying devices, they all launched into the sky. Izuku didn't even try. He just flew. Wind currents carried him forward like he was riding an invisible roller coaster, moving at speeds that made the other students look stationary by comparison. He finished the course in 3 minutes. Second place took 15. That's just unfair! Present Mike's commentary was half laughing, half incredulous. Midoriya breaks another record. Is anyone surprised at this point? The crowd went wild, but the race was just the beginning. The second event was team battles, groups of 4 fighting against other groups in a controlled arena. Izuku's team, Yaoyorozu, Todoroki, and Ida. Their first opponents didn't stand a chance. Yaoyorozu created barriers and weapons, Todoroki controlled temperature, Ida provided mobility, and Izuku? He created a localized storm that made it impossible for opponents to see, hear, or coordinate. The match lasted 90 seconds. Their second match against Class 1B's top team? 2 minutes. Third match against support course students with advanced technology? 60 seconds. They dominated. By the time the tournament brackets were announced, it was clear to everyone watching, Izuku was in a league of his own. His first tournament opponent was a general studies student with a gravity manipulation quirk. Izuku won by creating an updraft so powerful it launched his opponent out of the ring before the match officially started. Time, 5 seconds. His second opponent was Tokoyami, who'd been training his Dark Shadow quirk intensively since Kamino. It was a better fight. Dark Shadow was strong in darkness, and Tokoyami used that, creating shadow constructs, attacking from multiple angles. But Izuku just created light. Sustained lightning that illuminated the entire arena, weakening Dark Shadow to the point where Tokoyami had no choice but to forfeit. Time, 3 minutes. His third opponent? Todoroki. The heterochromatic student stood across from Izuku in the arena, both halves of his quirk active for the first time in public. I've been waiting for this, Todoroki said. A real fight, no holding back. Then don't hold back, Izuku replied. Give me everything. What followed was legendary. Ice and fire versus wind and lightning, temperature extremes versus atmospheric pressure. Two of UA's strongest students going all out. Todoroki created glaciers. Izuku melted them with superheated air. Todoroki generated walls of flame. Izuku extinguished them by removing oxygen. They fought for 15 minutes, longer than any match in sports festival history, neither giving an inch. The arena was destroyed. Ice covered half, scorch marks the other. Lightning strikes had created glass from melted sand. Wind had torn up chunks of concrete. It was beautiful. And in the end, Izuku won. Not through overwhelming power, but through strategy. He created a pressure differential so extreme it formed a vacuum between himself and Todoroki, making it impossible for fire to burn or ice to form. Todoroki, unable to use his quirk effectively, was pushed out of bounds by a gentle wind current. The crowd's reaction was deafening. "What a match!" Present Mike screamed. Todoroki gave it everything, but Midoriya remains undefeated. The two students shook hands in the center of the destroyed arena. "That was incredible," Todoroki said, breathing hard. "I gave you everything, and you still won. You made me work for it. That's more than most people can say." Izuku smiled. "You're getting stronger, Todoroki. Keep training. One day you might actually beat me." "I will. Count on it." The finals were predictable. Izuku versus Bakugo, round 2, the rematch everyone had been waiting for. Bakugo stood across from Izuku, his expression a mixture of rage and determination. "I've been training for this," he said, explosions popping from his palms. "Every day since last year. Every hour. I know your moves, Deku. I know how you fight, and I will beat you." "Then show me," Izuku said calmly. "Begin." Midnight dropped her hand. Bakugo exploded forward, moving faster than he ever had before, using explosions not just for power but for mobility. He hit Izuku with a blast strong enough to level a building. The crowd gasped. Smoke cleared. Izuku stood there, completely unharmed, like wind barrier having absorbed the entire attack. "Not bad, Kachan, but you'll need more than that." Bakugo roared and unleashed his ultimate move. Howitzer impact! He spun through the air, building up rotational force, explosions spiraling around him, creating a massive blast cone that slammed into Izuku with the force of an artillery shell. The explosion was so large it filled the entire arena. Students covered their ears. Pro heroes activated defensive quirks. The crowd held its breath. When the smoke cleared, Izuku was floating, high above the arena, riding wind currents, completely untouched. "My turn," he said. Lightning. Not a bolt, a barrage. Dozens of strikes, each one precisely placed to miss Bakugo, but close enough to make him dodge. The blonde moved like a demon, explosions propelling him out of the way of each strike, his reflexes pushed to their absolute limit. But he was tiring. Each dodge took energy. Each explosion drained his sweat reserves. He was slowing. Izuku saw it. One final lightning bolt, placed perfectly to force Bakugo to dodge in a specific direction, right into a wind current that carried him out of bounds. The match was over. Time, 8 minutes. Bakugo sat on the ground outside the arena, hands smoking, chest heaving, staring at Izuku with an expression of pure frustration. "I trained," he shouted. "I got stronger. I used everything I had, and you still—" "You did great, Kachan," Izuku interrupted, landing beside him. "That howitzer impact, that would have beaten most pro heroes. Your mobility is insane now. Your explosions are more controlled, more efficient. But not enough to beat you. Not yet. But you're closer. Last year I beat you in 2 minutes. This year, 8. You're improving. Keep going, and maybe next year you'll actually win." Bakugo looked up, surprise flickering across his face. Then he stood, dusted himself off, and held out his hand. "Next year, Deku, I will beat you next year." Izuku took the hand. "I'll be waiting." They shook, and for the first time in their lives, it felt less like enemies and more like rivals. The medal ceremony was a repeat of last year. First place, Izuku Midoriya. Second, Katsuki Bakugo. Third, Shoto Todoroki. Endeavor presented the medals this time, and when he placed the gold around Izuku's neck, the hero spoke quietly. "You're strong, kid. Maybe the strongest I've ever seen at your age. But don't let that power make you reckless. The stronger you get, the bigger the targets on your back." "I know. Do you?" Because All Might thought he knew too, and look where that got him. Endeavor's flames flickered. Just be careful. The hero world needs someone like you. Don't get yourself killed before you can make a difference. It was the closest thing to a compliment Izuku had ever received from the #1 hero. That night, lying in his dorm room, Izuku stared at the ceiling. 2 sports festivals, 2 victories, 2 years of being the strongest. But Sir Night Eye's prediction still haunted him. You, standing alone against an enemy you can't defeat? Was he getting too confident? Too reliant on his power? His phone buzzed. Yao Yorozu. Can't sleep either? He smiled and texted back, thinking too much. Come to my room. We'll think together. He shouldn't. It was against dorm rules. He went anyway. They sat on her balcony, looking at the stars, hands intertwined. You were amazing today, she said. You're always amazing. I'm just doing what comes naturally. That's what makes it amazing. You make the impossible look easy. She leaned her head on his shoulder. But I worry about you sometimes. Why? Because you're too strong, because villains keep targeting you, because one day you might face something even you can't handle. If that day comes, I'll deal with it. You don't have to deal with it alone. That's what I'm trying to say. You have me. You have Todoroki, Bakugo, Ida, Kirishima, all of us. We're here for you. I know. Then trust us. Let us help you. Stop trying to carry everything by yourself. Izuku was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled her close. You're right. I'm sorry. I'll try to be better about that. Good, because I plan on being around for a very long time, and I'd prefer you be around too. They sat there in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Neither noticed the figure watching from a distant rooftop. A figure in a dark cloak, observing through high-powered binoculars. So that's the Omega Storm, the figure murmured, even more impressive in person. They lowered the binoculars and pulled out a communicator. Shigaraki, I've confirmed the target. He's everything you said and more. Good. Shigaraki's voice crackled through. Then it's time to begin the real plan. Not kidnapping. Not recruitment. Destruction. You want me to kill him? No, I want you to break him. Destroy everything he cares about. Make him suffer. And when he's at his lowest, when he's lost everything... Shigaraki's laugh was unsettling. Then we'll see what the Omega Storm is really made of. The figure smiled. Understood. I'll begin preparations. They disappeared into the night, leaving Izuku and Yaoyorozu blissfully unaware of the storm about to come. Time skip, 4 months later. The Dark Hero arc. It started with a prison break. Tartarus, Japan's maximum security prison for the most dangerous villains, was breached. Not by force, by strategy. Someone on the inside, someone with access, had released every villain in the facility, including All for One. The news broke at 3 a.m. Izuku was awake instantly, phone buzzing with emergency alerts. All heroes report to designated locations. This is not a drill. He was in costume in 60 seconds, out the window in 90. The UA campus was chaos. Students running for shelters, teachers coordinating evacuation, pro-heroes arriving to establish a perimeter. Aizawa found Izuku first. You shouldn't be here. Get to the shelter with the other students. I have a provisional license. I'm a hero. You're a student who has more combat experience than half the pros here, who's fought All for One, who's ready. Izuku's eyes blazed. Use me or I'll act on my own. Your choice. Aizawa stared at him for a long moment, then sighed. Fine, you're with me. We're coordinating defense of the campus perimeter. No solo actions. Understood? Understood. They took position on the eastern wall and waited. The attack came at dawn, not just the League of Villains, everyone. Every villain who'd escaped Tartarus, every criminal who saw this as their chance for revenge, every psychopath who'd been waiting for an opportunity. They descended on Hero Society like a plague. UA was a primary target. Shigaraki led the assault personally, accompanied by Dabi, Toga, Spinner, and dozens of others. But the real threat? All for One. The villain appeared in the sky above UA, floating there like a dark god, his presence radiating power. Hello, heroes, his voice echoed across the campus. Did you miss me? All Might, skeletal, powerless, stood on the ground below, fists clenched in helpless fury. All for One. This ends now. Yes, Toshinori, it does, but not the way you think. All for One's gaze swept across the campus. Where is he? Where's the boy? The Omega Storm? Izuku stepped forward before anyone could stop him. I'm here. All for One smiled. There you are. I've been wanting to have a proper conversation with you, young Midoriya. You're the only person whose quirk I couldn't steal, the only one who's truly immune to my power. Do you know how frustrating that is? I can imagine. Can you? Can you really? All for One descended, landing 50 feet from Izuku. For decades, I've collected quirks, thousands of them. I've stolen the powers of heroes and villains alike, building an arsenal that makes me unstoppable. And then you come along, a child with a single quirk, but one so integrated with your biology that I can't touch it. Sounds like a personal problem. It's more than that. It's a challenge, and I do love a challenge. All for One raised his hands. So here's what's going to happen. You and I are going to fight, right here, right now. And if you win, I'll leave peacefully. But if I win, he gestured to the campus around them, I destroy everything you care about. Your school, your classmates, your precious Yaoyorozu. The villain's smile widened. Choose wisely. Izuku felt rage surge through him, but he kept it controlled. You're bluffing. You can't beat me. Perhaps, but I don't need to beat you. I just need to distract you. Boom! An explosion rocked the western wall. Izuku spun. The League was attacking. Dabi's flames, Toga's knives, Shigaraki's decay spreading through buildings. Students were screaming. See? All for One said calmly. Your power is great, but you can't be everywhere at once. You can save this side of campus or that side, but not both. So, what do you choose? Time seemed to stop. Izuku's mind raced. All for One was right. He couldn't be in two places at once. If he fought the villain, the League would devastate the campus. If he fought the League, All for One would attack directly. He needed help. Todoroki, he shouted. The heterochromatic student appeared, ice and fire ready. I need you to hold the western wall. Keep the League busy. Can you do that? For how long? As long as it takes me to beat this asshole. Todoroki looked at All for One, swallowed, nodded. I've got it. Go. Izuku turned back to All for One. Okay, you want to fight? You've got one. He raised both hands. The sky opened. Not a storm, a catastrophe. Clouds formed in seconds, massive, black, swirling with energy. Lightning crackled between them, building charge, temperature dropping so fast that frost formed on every surface. All for One watched with fascination. Magnificent. This is the power of an Omega-level quirk. But you're holding back, aren't you? Afraid of killing someone? Afraid of losing control? I don't need to lose control to beat you. Then show me. All for One attacked with everything. Strength quirks, air pressure manipulation, energy projection, kinetic force, dozens of quirks used simultaneously, creating an assault that would have destroyed any normal hero. Izuku met it all. Lightning struck All for One directly, each bolt carrying enough voltage to power a city. The villain absorbed it with an energy absorption quirk. Izuku created a vacuum, removing all air from around All for One. The villain used an oxygen generation quirk to survive. Izuku dropped the temperature to negative 100 degrees Celsius. All for One activated thermal resistance. Back and forth they fought, each attack countered, each defense broken, the entire campus shaking from the forces unleashed. But Izuku had one advantage. All for One's quirks were stolen. They didn't work together naturally. He had to think about which one to use, had to consciously activate each power. Izuku's quirk was integrated. It was as natural as breathing. He didn't think about creating wind or summoning lightning, he just did it. And that split-second difference? It was everything. Izuku feinted with a lightning strike. All for One activated electric absorption. Izuku hit him with wind instead, a pressure blast so powerful it created a sonic boom. All for One flew backward, crashing through a building. Good, the villain laughed, standing up from the rubble. Very good, you're learning, but I'm not done yet. He activated a quirk Izuku had never seen before. Multiplication. Suddenly there were 5 All for Ones. 10. 20. All identical. All powerful. All attacking simultaneously. It's a shadow clone technique, All for One explained. Each one has a fraction of my power, but together, they're overwhelming. The clones attacked from every direction. Izuku created a tornado around himself, a defensive barrier that kept the clones at bay while he figured out which one was real. There, the one slightly behind the others, conserving energy, letting the clones do the work. Izuku targeted that one. He created a pressure lance, condensed air moving at hypersonic speeds, and launched it through the tornado. It hit the real All for One in the chest. The villain gasped, blood spurting from the wound. The clones disappeared. Clever, All for One wheezed. You saw through my technique, but you made one mistake. What's that? You forgot about my regeneration. The wound began to close, flesh knitting back together. Izuku's eyes narrowed. This wasn't working. Every attack he made, All for One countered or healed from. The villain had too many quirks, too many defenses. He needed to end this now, with everything he had. You wanted to see my full power? Izuku said quietly. Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you. He rose into the air, arms spread wide, and he pulled on every ounce of his quirk. The storm above intensified. Clouds spiraled inward, forming a supercell, a weather phenomenon so intense it was visible from space. Wind speeds exceeded 300 miles per hour. Temperature dropped to Antarctic levels. Lightning strikes hit the ground constantly, like machine gun fire. And at the center of it all, glowing like a star, was Izuku. "This is Ragnarok Storm," he said, his voice carrying across the campus despite the wind. "My ultimate move, the technique I've been developing for 2 years, and I've never used it at full power before." "Do it," All for One challenged. "Show me what an Omega-level quirk can really do." Izuku brought his hands together. The storm collapsed inward. Every bit of energy, every joule of power, every volt of electricity, all condensing into a single point directly above All for One. The pressure was apocalyptic. The temperature differential created shockwaves that shattered windows for miles. And then, release. Lightning fell. But this wasn't a bolt. This was a column. A sustained discharge of electricity that connected sky to ground for 30 full seconds. The temperature at the impact point exceeded 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit, twice the surface of the sun. The ground melted, turned to glass, created a crater the size of a football field. And All for One, he screamed. Even with all his quirks, all his defenses, nothing could protect him from this. His regeneration couldn't keep up. His absorption quirks were overloaded. His body began to cook. When the lightning finally stopped, when the storm dissipated and the clouds cleared, All for One lay in the center of a glass crater, his body charred, smoking, ruined, but alive, barely. Pro heroes rushed forward, binding him in quirk-suppressing restraints before he could regenerate. Izuku descended, landing next to the defeated villain. You won," All for One whispered. "You actually beat me. I warned you." "Yes, you did." The villain coughed blood. "Tell me, was it worth it? Using that much power? Risking everything?" Izuku looked around. The campus was destroyed, buildings damaged, the ground melted, students traumatized, but alive. Everyone was alive. "Yeah," he said quietly, "it was worth it." All for One smiled. A genuine smile, not his usual malicious grin. "Good. Then, you truly are the next symbol of peace. The world will need someone like you when I'm gone." He closed his eyes and didn't open them again. The aftermath was chaos. All for One was taken to a medical facility under maximum guard. The League of Villains had been repelled. Todoroki, Bakugo, and other students had held the Western Wall, preventing major casualties. But the damage was extensive. UA's campus would need months of repairs. Students would need therapy. The hero world would need to reorganize. Izuku sat on a piece of rubble, exhausted beyond measure, when Yaoyorozu found him. "You're okay," she breathed, wrapping him in a hug. "I'm okay." "You used it, Ragnarok Storm. I felt the power from the shelter. I thought..." Her voice broke. "I thought you might die using that much energy. Almost did, but I didn't. I'm here. Don't ever scare me like that again. I'll try." They sat together in silence, holding each other while emergency crews worked around them. "What happens now?" Yaoyorozu asked eventually. "Now?" Izuku looked at the destroyed campus, at the heroes coordinating relief efforts, at the sun rising over the horizon. "Now we rebuild, stronger than before, because that's what heroes do." She smiled. "That's what you do. The rest of us just try to keep up." "You do more than keep up, Momo. You make me better." "All of you do. Todoroki, Bakugo, Ida, everyone." "Good, because the world's going to need you at your best, especially after today." She was right. All for One's defeat made headlines worldwide. Omega Storm defeats All for One. Second-year UA student saves Hero Society. Is this the next symbol of peace? Izuku's face was everywhere. Interview requests poured in. Hero agencies offered internships, partnerships, anything to be associated with him. He declined them all. "I'm still a student," he told the reporters who managed to corner him. "I'm still learning. When I graduate, when I've proven I can handle the responsibility, then I'll think about agencies and rankings. Until then, I'm just Izuku Midoriya, a kid trying to be a hero." The humility made him even more popular, but it also painted a bigger target on his back. With All for One defeated and the League scattered, a power vacuum formed in Japan's villain world, and into that vacuum stepped new threats. Villains who saw Izuku's power and wanted to test themselves against it. Villains who wanted revenge for All for One's defeat. villains who believed that killing the Omega Storm would make them legendary. The attacks came constantly. At school, during internships, on the street when he was just trying to get groceries, Izuku fought them all and won every time. He became paranoid, constantly alert, sleeping in shifts, creating weather phenomena around himself as automatic defenses. His classmates noticed. Midoriya, you need to rest, Yaoyorozu said one night, finding him on the roof at 2 a.m., eyes glowing as he monitored weather patterns for potential threats. I can't. Too many people want me dead. If I let my guard down, you'll collapse from exhaustion. You can't protect everyone if you're too tired to stand. I have to try. No, you have to trust. She sat beside him. Trust that we can handle some threats. Trust that pro heroes exist for a reason. Trust that you don't have to bear this burden alone. But I'm the strongest. Being the strongest doesn't mean being alone. All Might had sidekicks. Endeavor has a team. Even legends need support. Izuku was quiet, then his resolve cracked. I'm scared, Momo. For the first time since my quirk manifested, I'm actually scared. Not of villains. I can handle them. But of what happens if I fail, if someone gets past me, if I'm not fast enough, strong enough, good enough, then you'll fail. And you'll get back up, because that's what heroes do. She took his hand. You don't have to be perfect, Izuku. You just have to be you. The person who saved Eri, who befriended Todoroki, who gave Bakugo a rival worth respecting, that person is enough. More than enough. He pulled her close. Thank you. Always. They sat there until sunrise, just being together. And for the first time in weeks, Izuku felt peace. But peace never lasts. 3 days later, the final attack came, not from villains, from him, Shigaraki Tamura, enhanced, evolved. All for One had given him quirks before being defeated. Multiple ones. Strength, speed, regeneration, all layered on top of his decay. He appeared in downtown Tokyo at noon when the streets were most crowded, and he started decaying everything. Buildings crumbled. Streets turned to dust. People screamed. Izuku was there in minutes, flying at maximum speed. He found Shigaraki standing in a crater surrounded by devastation, laughing. There you are, I was wondering when you'd show up. Shigaraki, stand down, now. Or what? You'll kill me? You don't have it in you, Storm. You're too good, too heroic. You'll try to save everyone, and that hesitation... He gestured to the destruction. That's your weakness. Last warning. Make me. Izuku moved. Lightning, wind, pressure blasts, temperature manipulation, everything at once. Shigaraki took it all. His new regeneration quirk let him heal from injuries that should have been fatal. His strength let him punch through Izuku's wind barriers. His decay turned lightning-struck ground to dust. They fought through blocks of Tokyo, each exchange destroying buildings, each clash creating shockwaves. Pro heroes tried to evacuate civilians, but the battle moved too fast. Izuku was winning. Barely. But every second he fought, more destruction occurred. He needed to end this. Now, he created a vacuum, not around Shigaraki, but around the entire battlefield. A sphere of zero pressure, zero oxygen, zero everything. Shigaraki couldn't decay what wasn't there, couldn't regenerate without oxygen, couldn't move without air pressure. He collapsed. Izuku maintained the vacuum for 30 seconds, letting Shigaraki pass out from oxygen deprivation. Then, he released it, letting pro heroes swarm in to restrain the villain. It was over, finally. Truly over. Shigaraki was imprisoned. The League was disbanded. All for One was defeated. Hero Society had won. And Izuku? He stood in the center of the destroyed battlefield, looking at the devastation his power had helped create, and felt empty. He'd saved the day, but at what cost? Midoriya. He turned to find All Might, skeletal, powerless, but smiling, approaching. You did it, my boy. You saved everyone. Did I? Look around. This city is destroyed. People are hurt, all because I had to fight. All because you had to protect. There's a difference. All Might put a hand on Izuku's shoulder. You can't control what villains do. You can only control how you respond, and you responded like a true hero. I don't feel like a hero. Good. That means you understand the weight of the role. Arrogance makes heroes reckless. Humility makes them great. Izuku looked at the sky. The storm clouds were clearing, sunlight breaking through. A new day. What happens now? He asked. Now? All Might smiled. Now you graduate, become a pro hero, take my place as the symbol of peace, and you show the world what the next generation can do. Epilogue. 5 years later, Tempest stood on top of Tokyo Tower, looking out over the city. His hero costume had evolved, sleeker, more professional, with atmospheric sensors embedded throughout. His cape billowed in a wind he controlled automatically, his presence radiating power. At 20, Izuku Midoriya was the #1 hero in Japan. He'd graduated from UA with perfect scores, had established the Tempest Agency, had assembled a team of heroes that included Kriati, Yaoyorozu, Shoto, Bakugo's begrudging hero name, and others. They'd saved thousands of lives, stopped hundreds of villains, rebuilt hero society into something better, and Izuku had done it without losing himself. He'd married Yaoyorozu a year ago, a private ceremony, just close friends and family. She worked as his partner hero, their quirks complementing each other perfectly. Eri was 14 now, training at UA, her rewind quirk finally under control. She called Izuku Big Brother and had made it her life's goal to rescue hero. Even Bakugo had mellowed, slightly, and now worked alongside Izuku as the #2 hero. They still fought constantly, still competed, but it was productive rivalry now. Life was good. Admiring the view? A voice asked. Yaoyorozu appeared beside him, her own hero costume immaculate. Just thinking. About how far we've come. 5 years ago, we were students. Now we're the foundation of hero society. Scary, isn't it? Terrifying, he smiled, but also amazing. We're making a difference, Momo, a real one. We are, but don't forget, she poked his chest, you don't have to do it alone. You have US, your team, your family. I know, his communicator beeped. A villain attack downtown. Duty calls? Yaoyorozu asked. Always does. They jumped off the tower together, wind currents catching them, carrying them toward the emergency. As they flew over Tokyo, Izuku felt complete. This was his purpose, his calling, not just to be strong, but to inspire, to show people that heroes could be powerful and compassionate, strong and humble, godlike and human. He was the symbol of peace, the Omega Storm, Tempest. And the story was far from over, because heroes never rest. The storm continues, always. The end.
Huge shout out to the absolute legends fueling the fire. You guys aren't just members, you're the heartbeat of this community. Thank you for believing in the vision and keeping the momentum at an all-time high. Pro heroes, the front line, the ones who step up and set the pace. These legends are the backbone of the operation. Dylan the Proud, DA, Fire 05. Symbols of peace. The pillars of the community. These titans bring the stability and the hype that keeps us standing tall through it all. Amuri B, Kenneth Ponteris, Neostar Productions, Asael Cardenas, Shaquan Simmons, Thunder, Elijah Saunders, Peter Hamilton, Freddie Rose, Omega, Toxic Rune, Chris Talley, Alexander Thompson, Remorsefuls, Black Vein, Joshua Hedrington, Aaron Abercrombie, Drift SK8er, Akeno Himejima, Corey Tokars, Jan, X0 Hope 3565, Devin Black, Crow, Roberto Ramos de Cristina, Dasher Games, Joe Bros, Ray Vaughn Crimson River, Dante Alaster, Adam Yonkers, Blood Saints, Donna Cafe, Zeph, KC, Howie 60, Ignacio, Albert. Hope of the universe, the ultimate defenders. These are the celestial tier legends whose support reaches beyond the stars. They are the final spark that lights up the dark. The Maniac 563, Sean Brooks, Keyshawn, Debbie Vo, LS Morningstar, Marl, Spintown, Greg Green, James, Kwan Yen Thompson, Kwan, Zeno KJ. The Omega Storm just annihilated the competition. If you're not subscribed, you're sleeping on the most brutal, overpowered fanfictions on the platform. Destroy that subscribe button. Spam lightning in the comments if this was fire.